Good morning, everyone. The November 2nd, 2016 meeting of the City Council is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being recorded as well as presented live on KCLV Cable Channel 2 and are closed captioned for our hearing impaired viewers. Please note customers of CenturyLink may view this program in high definition on Channel 1002. And thank you very much. Sorry. Who do not have a cable box may view this meeting on digital channel 69.9. The council meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, may be viewed on the internet at www.lasvegasnevada.gov. The proceedings will be rebroadcast on KCLV Channel 2 and the web the Wednesday of the meeting at 8 p.m., also on Friday at 4 a.m., Saturday at 7 p.m., Sunday at 7 a.m., and the following Monday at 5 p.m. Excuse me while we switch books. Over there. Thank you very much. This building is protected by state-of-the-art, thank you, state-of-the-art fire detection and suppression sprinkler systems. If alarms should activate during today's meeting, please evacuate using the exits at the back of the chambers out to the mezzanine. Proceed out the double doors to the terrace and down the back staircase. For anyone who has difficulty with stairs, please check with a marshal or fire official for assistance. Once outside, assemble on the northeast corner of the street from City Hall at Lewis and First. Employees wearing safety vests or city marshals will inform you when it's safe to re-enter the building. For public comment on items on the agenda, citizen participation, and public hearing items, we have available a speaker card which you may complete and submit to our city clerk staff up front. Cards are available online in the clerk's office or at the rear of these chambers. If you do not submit a card, it does not prevent you from speaking under public comment, citizen participation, or public hearing specified items. If anyone's present today who has need for hearing impaired equipment, please come up front and see our city clerk staff. If you parked in the parking garage across the street, please be sure to have your ticket validated by security officers when you're exiting. Before we proceed with the agenda, would everyone please rise for the invocation given this morning by Chaplain Sanford Sandy Marks. Thank you. Oh, you're always so good with us. Interfaith Council of Southern Nevada, and remain standing for our pledge, and then we will go into our ceremonials.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join me in prayer any way you feel that you can do it. Wise and loving Father, thank you for the many and abundant blessings you have granted us. Bless those gathered here today to witness the City Council meeting. Bless our mayor and all city officials, in particular this assembled council. Please grant them wisdom to govern, a sense of the true needs of the community, a keen thirst for justice, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony, and a personal sense of peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. It is in your most blessed name that we pray. Amen. Thank you. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we'll go down and we will have our ceremonial portion. No, you're good. Oh, wow. Boy, this is a wonderfully short agenda here, although we love this. We just opened the second phase of Tivoli over the weekend. We had our wonderful Mayor's Cup. We had some exciting things going on. I mean, it was really a busy weekend. For our first agenda item, I'd like to invite Councilman Coffin to the microphone and the podium. And Oddities and Antiquities opened on Main Street, 1228 Main, in your ward. It is phenomenal.
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't feeling well that evening, and I could not make it. Thank you very much for carrying the flag for all of us. We do like antiquities. I resemble that. Now then, today, we have somebody else who takes care of antiquities. That is elderly people, to make sure they're fed well. Terry Della Torre is our Citizen of the Month. And Terry runs the Jude 22 Nutrition Center. And I'm very proud that we always partner with Terry in our Christmas party, so as we will again this year, at the East Las Vegas Community Center, because Terry has a real mission in life, and that is to make sure the elderly get fed properly. I guess, you know, I might be in that category now. I'm approaching elderly status. Your Honor, I won't say, I always say I'm the oldest man on the council, which is true. However, I really do feel that we need to make sure that, again, at least once a year, we remember a person who does take care of the elderly. And these are kind of lonely times, and at the end of the year, it's when people have outlived some of their family, and maybe, or they're the only survivor, and they need company. And so the holidays are always stressful. So what Terry and Jude 22 do is actually help keep a pantry. They keep things going for folks so they're not going to starve. More importantly, they won't starve for friendship. And so we get together, we have a great time, and Terry's been very successful in getting additional sponsors for this Christmas party, like the Boyd Group, I believe it is so good at helping and providing food for the group, as I recall, or is it Stations? Well, we're going to find out real quick because I've offended one of them. In any event, Terry, because of your commitment to us, and it's not just seniors, you've been a leader in the Scout community. Come on up. Thank you. It's nice to see you. Terry was also executive director of NALA, Nevada Association of Latin Americans. She's been an HIV counselor. She's been a volunteer vice president for Veterans Care Assistance Program. Terry Della Torre has served our community in many ways, all ages, throughout her life. So we have a presentation for you, Terry, but first I want you to say a few words about your mission in life and what you do now with Jude 22 and how it's working. And you might make a pitch if you need a new space to have the office. This is a good time.
Thank you, Councilman Coffin and City Council. I really appreciate this award. I feel that this is my job and this is my passion. And I love helping people. I love helping senior citizens and veterans. My goal in life is to continue to help people. I was fortunate to get a second chance of life. And from that moment on, I realized that my commitment to the community here in Las Vegas and helping all those people in need. Right now, we're averaging about 3,000 senior citizens and veterans that we're helping with food. We do need a new building. We lose our lease in November of 2017. And the importance of Jude 22 is that every day I hear seniors in need. It's amazing to see people carrying their suitcases to come to our food pantry, their shopping carts, even shopping carts from the stores they're bringing because they want to fill up on food. I don't want to turn anybody away. I see the need, and also it's like a mom and pop organization where you come in and I'm the first face and I know them by names, and it's kind of nice to see that. And everybody who comes in, they want to give me a hug. It's like, oh my God, here we go, and I want to cry. But it's very important to me to make sure that everyone, all those in need, are helped. I want to thank the supporters, my husband, Seth, who's here today, my friends Fran and VCAP, Jim McCauley, the former vice president, also Betty Evans, who's one of our board members. Mel Henkin is in the hospital. He could not be here today. And at the beginning of the year, we lost our board chairperson, David Polly, who was a strong influence on Jude 22 for over 14 years. The final thing I want to say is we are having a special fundraiser honoring David Polly. It's a pancake breakfast, a donation over at Christ Church Episcopal on Maryland Parkway and St. Louis. And so that's this Saturday for a small donation of $10 to help support feed our seniors in need. And finally, I want to say this: Go Cubs!
Oh, Terry. No, that's all right. I am only a Cleveland fan by marriage. And this will end soon. Thank you very much for this. I do appreciate the fact that you have given all you have and still have time for sports, so good for you. Yeah, those losers, they have a chance to win this time. I'm a Dodger fan, really. You know, it's a lesser of two evils. Terry, I'd like to present you with our Citizen of the Month award. And it is truly our honor to make you stand out as someone who really needs no one to say you should stand out. You do it all on your own. So thank you and congratulations. And you will also have your name on a sign. We're going to take a picture there. And that sign is going to be right outside City Hall for a month. So walk by, drive by, have your picture taken. Tell all your friends to come and visit City Hall because you're part of us. Thank you, Terry. And, of course, I'll see you in December. Or is it? That party is either late November. Arizona Charlie's is the supporter. Thank you. Neither one. I didn't insult anybody. They're good people, and they're going to supply the food for this. This is just great. It makes our budget go twice as far. Thank you so much. Okay, let's have a picture, folks. Let's over here by the sign. Terry, you stand right next to the sign. Again, well, we'll see you in a month.
Exactly.
It goes fast. Please call us if you need any help or any questions.
And the pancake breakfast is Sunday.
Saturday.
This Saturday, November 5. Ladies and gentlemen, again, November 5, it's Saturday, the Pancake Breakfast at Christ Church Episcopal, St. Louis and Maryland Parkway, a beautiful church with a great plaza in the middle. It's a calm and inviting place. Thank you.
Beautiful. We always had the Lobster Fest there. What was that? Was that the Greek Lobster Fest? No. You have no lobsters in Crete. I don't believe that. Okay, agenda item 2, Councilman Barlow. Dapper as always.
Thank you, Mayor. How's everyone doing this morning? Good deal, good deal. Good morning. I would like to take this time to recognize an outstanding group of employees who do an outstanding job maintaining City Hall and our outer City Hall buildings, city facilities. These individuals are mostly out of sight, but their work is visible to staff and people who visit our beautiful city buildings each day. I would like to ask that Jerry Walker, Director of Operations and Maintenance, as well as Steve Ford, Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance, to join me at the podium to recognize National Custodial Workers Day here in the city of Las Vegas for 2016. And as they come, we'll ask that you start the PowerPoint presentation. Oh, yeah, this will be good. Thank you. Yeah. The City of Las Vegas custodial staff is deserving of this recognition, and we are proud to have them here to stand before the City Council to accept this honor. They contribute to important first impressions of visitors at their work, and their work is often overlooked and not appreciated. On this day, we honor the custodians for being the quiet face to make our city buildings and parking lots beautiful and clean for employees and visitors. And at this moment, we are letting them know that we do see them and that their work most definitely is greatly appreciated. And so at this time, I would ask that Jerry Walker share a few words. Jerry?
Thank you, Councilman. Recognition is much appreciated. As you mentioned, this is mainly an after-hours activity, and so when this job is done well, as is the situation with our staff, the accomplishments are not readily obvious. And so we have a good staff. Most of our staff is graveyard. We do have our day shift up here. And if you don't mind, come on down, guys. And this crew reports directly to our Deputy Director, Steve Ford. If you don't mind, I'll ask Steve to introduce the staff.
Thank you. Councilman, thank you again for the opportunity for this recognition. The thing about maintenance and especially custodial is that it does go pretty much unseen until something doesn't get done, and then we hear about it. I'd like to just introduce the staff we have here today. We have Ron McCulley, who's our custodial supervisor. Brent Sutherland, one of our custodians. The tall guy in the back is Benny Lloyd, another custodian, and then Teresa Tobias is our janitor that we have working on day shift, and they do a fantastic job. Very happy to have them. They're great employees, and just thank you again for this opportunity.
Well, thank you all so very much for everything that you do. And this is just a symbol that we would like to present you with, Jerry. The Golden Broom Award. Jerry's been waiting for this for a very long time. And Jerry, actually, I'm not sure if Jerry tried to kill me or save my life. One day we were riding together in the city truck, but being that we're both still here, I would have to say that Jerry tried to save my life when a big rock came through the windshield and landed on the passenger side right in front of me, going down Vegas Drive many years ago, over 10 years ago. And so, Jerry, you've always held a special place in my heart, being that you took care of me on that day. And now, therefore, in great recognition of the National Custodial Workers Day here in 2016, I ask that the mayor and city council members and all employees join me as we do hereby proclaim November 2nd, 2016 as National Custodial Workers Day in the city of Las Vegas. Thank you so very much, man.
Thank you, Councilman. Much appreciated. All right.
Where did you go? Steve, you can hold that, and then we can take a group photo. Thank you all so very much for what you do. Thank you. And Jerry and team, I just want to let you know that Christy Garnis is responsible for the Golden Broom and Dustpan. So thank you, Christy, for all that you do for the city of Las Vegas as well. Thank you, Mayor.
You know, Oscar said to me 10 years ago, something happened to Ricky. I wonder what that was. Now I know there was a boulder that came through, and you were saved.
Landed right in the dash
See?
right before it hit me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, and wow, our final agenda item this morning in ceremonials, Councilman Anthony. Lobsters.
It's only Italian lobsters, no Greek lobsters. Thank you, Mayor. On November 2nd, 2012, I was honored to recognize the Lower Extremity Amputation Prevention Alliance, which is commonly called LEAP, and its partner Lions Clubs here in this brand new City Hall. It's now 4 years later, and I again want to recognize the LEAP Alliance as well as a brand new Lions Club called the Las Vegas Diabetes Wellness Lions Club, which we have represented right here. 4 years ago, this partnership contributed free foot screenings for the early detection of diabetic peripheral neuropathy. Since then, another signature program has been launched with the partnership of LEAP and this new Lions Club. At this point, I'd like to call up to the podium Dr. Lawrence and Arlene Rubin, co-founders of the LEAP Alliance. Give them a nice round of applause. Co-founders of the LEAP Alliance. And I would like to invite Stephanie Von Drake, who is the vice president of the new Las Vegas Lions Diabetes Wellness Club, which was just recently chartered a few months ago. Thank you for coming down. The LEAP Alliance and the Las Vegas Lions Diabetic Wellness Club have begun a pilot preventive health care clinic in the Summerlin Hospital Medical Office Building in the Great Ward 2. This clinic is meant to be a forerunner of other wellness clinics in Nevada and elsewhere. Heading the medical team of the clinic is the cardiovascular physician, Dr. Alan Stahl. Dr. Stahl donates his office space and staff to provide free health screenings. Preventative health care clinics are demonstrating a new concept in which physicians team up with Lions Club volunteers to provide the public with free chronic disease screenings with a special focus on undiagnosed prediabetes. In addition, a person receiving a preventive health care clinic wellness visit leaves the clinic with a written 5-year plan for staying well, as well as help in finding any necessary medical care, irrespective of their ability to pay. With that wellness letter of preventive health recommendations in hand, patients are invited to join the Lions Fit for Life program, a group who meet to stay motivated and as healthy as possible. At this point, I'd like to ask Stephanie Von Drake and Dr. Rubin to say a few words about the LEAP Alliance as well as the brand new Lions Club. So who would like to go first? Dr. Rubin, why don't you go first?
Thank you, Councilman Anthony, and thank you, Mayor and Councilman. It's a pleasure to be here. The LEAP Alliance, Lower Extremity Amputation Prevention, was an idea that Arlene, my wife, and I conceived. I'm a retired podiatrist. We had seen so many diabetics in so much trouble losing life and limb because of diabetes that in our retirement we decided to kind of unretire and to form the LEAP Alliance. And we partnered up with the best partners in the world. There's like 1.3 million Lions in the world. And here in Las Vegas with the Summerlin Lions Club, we partnered up to do what we Lions do. We serve. So it's LEAP and Lions partnership. And the thing is, very, very briefly, you know, there is a tremendous epidemic of diabetes in this world, and certainly in the United States, over 25 million persons have diabetes. Here in this wonderful group, we know that 1 out of 3 people either have diabetes or prediabetes. 1 out of 3 people doesn't know it, but they have diabetes. So Lions serve. And so thank you, Councilman, for mentioning the Lions Hunt for Diabetic Peripheral Neuropathy. And now the clinic that is opening, hopefully the first of many in the area, but the first of its kind anywhere, is a preventive healthcare clinic where physicians prevent problems that they ordinarily treat. And so this is something quite new, quite different, and as Lions, we're very, very happy to be doing this. So I'd like to give a plug for something as well that's a fundraiser for this program. UNLV, Department of Music, is having a very special band concert November 9th, 7:30 p.m. in Ham Hall. Lions Diabetes Heroes, and it's all about raising money to take care of diabetic foot problems and the diabetics that just are underinsured or uninsured and can't afford that care. So we're very, very happy, LEAP Alliance, to be partnering with Lions Clubs, and the Diabetes Wellness Club is now working with other clubs in this mission. And so I'll turn over the microphone to Stephanie, the Vice President of the new Diabetes Wellness Lions Club.
Thank you, Larry.
Sure.
Good morning. Thank you for having us and acknowledging us. We're new, but we think important. As Larry has mentioned, just how pervasive the epidemic is of diabetes. And I like to think of ourselves as we provide information, we disseminate information, we let people know where to go to get, whether it be help or just things so that diabetes doesn't take over your life, and God forbid, down the road you could lose a toe or a foot or something. So we're working very hard that it doesn't get to that point. Anyway, Larry, I appreciate your talking about the concert, because I think that's just wonderful that UNLV has offered us a chance to do some fundraising and offering a wonderful concert. So if you're available Wednesday, November the 9th, we'd love to see as many of you as possible. Thank you again, and keep well. Thank you.
And I want to thank you for inviting me to your the night that you chartered your club. And the best part was it was at a Greek restaurant. You know, so we got the Greek food. It was at Mykonos in Sun City, Summerlin. So I'll give them a plug. So thanks you for everything you do. And because of what you do, I'd like to give you each of you a proclamation. I'm signed by the mayor and the entire city council. This is for the LEAP Alliance to recognize you for the Lower Extremity Amputation Prevention Day, and it has a bunch of whereases on them, which I will not read, but you can read at your leisure. So congratulations. There you go. You're welcome. And one for you for taking the time and the effort, and all the volunteers for coming together to build this new Lions Club called the Las Vegas Lions Diabetes Wellness Club. And because of that, we're going to recognize you with a proclamation signed by the mayor and the city council proclaiming today is the Las Vegas Lions Diabetes Wellness Day, with a bunch of whereases on there. So for you. All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations, both of you. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Yep. Let's turn around and get a... Okay, we're going to come on around here.
We'll go behind you. Congratulations. So much of this is diet and exercise and genetics. And, of course, one of our great heroes, Jackie Robinson, was diabetic, as trim as he was. And I think as the disease progresses, there are some difficulties, very major in this. So an awareness, this is fabulous. And as Councilman Beer said, give him a hand. You did. But it's wonderful. Okay, we're going right into our council meeting. That concludes the early morning portion. So right into work, everybody. First, this for you. Okay, as I have this, we're into number 9. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. The amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. All comments made will be cross-referenced to those specific items. If anyone submitted a speaker card who wishes to speak under this portion of the agenda, please come to the podium. State your name for the record. This is your opportunity to address the council, but the council is not able to respond or engage in dialogue. We'll set the time at 1 minute. Please come forward, state your name.
Derek Johnson, 7478 Lawrence Powers Court. I'm here in reference to items number 45 and 46. We've been provided by the attorneys copies of a request for withdrawal without prejudice, and we're not opposed to that. Just wanted to say briefly that we'd like to request that the record for these two applications be, along with the commitments made at the April 20th City Council meeting, be carried forward and incorporated into the staff report if and when new applications are submitted for these two items. There's a lot of work that's gone into this over the past 9 months, and we just hate to see that set aside just due to the applicant's non-performance for the past 6.5 months. So we do appreciate the council's support, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Please come forward, state your name for the record. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm sorry, is this the right time for that? I'm Ann Casey, 7460 Helena Avenue. I'm here for the same items 45 and 46. I'm not so sure that I'm okay with withdrawing without prejudice. My question is, what does without prejudice mean? And if it indeed is just circumventing what has already been gone ahead, which is that if they came up here now and asked for an abeyance, it would be turned down. If all of that is just circumvented and they get to start over again for the 3rd time, and for about the 5th time we've been up here on this item, I have a problem with that. There were some requirements.
Mr. Jerbick, who's our counsel, has just come in, and while we are not responding, us, counsel, perhaps he might be able to clarify or not.
I did not hear the question.
Okay, could you repeat it, Ms. Casey?
I guess my question is, if the applicant here had been told that they need to come in with certain requirements, they need to file
On items 46 and 47.
I think it's 45 and 46.
45, 46, sorry.
And if they came in without those, they would be denied. And now they're withdrawing without prejudice. And my question is, as Derek just said, so what happens to those requirements? Are they just now get to start all over and circumvent all of that's gone before? This is the 2nd time they filed an application. About the 5th time we've been here in front of the council on this particular item, and if now they just get to start all over again and forget that what they had to do before, I just think that's a circumvention of all, and it's just a way to try and tire us out. So
I understand the question.
I'm asking what that means.
I understand the question. Let me take a guess at the answer, because the planning director's not here and the planning staff's not here. I don't know who requested the requirements, but the planning director is here. I am sorry. I will let him answer the question then.
Yes.
Thanks.
So the question is regarding the withdrawal without prejudice, right? I'm really not sure. The withdrawal without prejudice means that the items simply are withdrawn. And then at any point in the future, if council approves that, then they could bring any other type of package forward, or the same package, or whatever application. As a property owner, they can bring that forward to Planning Commission and City Council.
If I could, if your question is generally, if there were requirements put on the application and it was withdrawn before those requirements were heard by the council, would those same requirements apply if it were brought back? I think the answer is probably yes. If planning staff or the council said, we want to have these things included in this application before we consider it, and then it was withdrawn before, I think that those same items would be on the table if it came back in the future. I think planning staff would be aware of that.
Okay, perfect. If that's the case,
is that fair, Tom?
Then I
Well,
agree.
I would agree with Mr. Jerbick. However, that is assuming that it would be the same request and the circumstance hadn't changed, because every request that comes in sometimes has, different, maybe it's for a different request, and maybe circumstances change. It might change how it's viewed. But generally, I think Mr. Jerbick is right. If they brought a similar request back, the same types of things that we're requiring today would be required at a future date.
And what was required is that they bring a map, and so that we know what it is they're asking for, so that we can agree or disagree at that point in time, rather than just asking for 20 houses.
And I might ask, since this is public comment and it's really a point of clarification, could you meet privately, or could you give Ms. Casey your card so you can finish the conversation on what this means?
Yeah, if I can just repeat what Derek said, and that
No, we
please include
appreciate
those
your
same
concern
requirements.
and coming forward. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Jervik and Mr. Perigo. Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll move on to agenda item 10. For possible action, any items council, staff, or applicant wish to be stricken, table, withdrawn, held in advance to a future meeting may be brought forward and acted upon at this time. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant for agenda item 43 has requested that item be obeyed to the November 16, 2016 meeting. It is a request for waiver reduction of fees for 1800 Birch Street. And the applicant has requested a withdrawal without prejudice on agenda items 45 and 46, GPA 62126 and ZON 62127. Applicant Alan Rothstein, owner, Mexican Gold and Oil Exploration Trust, and Drake Rothstein on 4.3 acres located on the northwest corner of Pioneer Way and Hickam Avenue. And that would be my motion.
Is that your ward?
Oh, it's in Councilman Anthony's. Councilman Anthony.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion, please. Vote and please post. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Those carry. Agenda item 11 for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference to the September 21st and October 5th, 2016 regular city council meetings. Is there a motion to approve those minutes, please?
I would move to approve those minutes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. There's a motion to approve. Please vote and please post. Also carries. Agenda items 12 through 26 on the consent agenda are considered to be routine or recommended for approval by the departments, may be enacted in one motion. Note that the record should reflect my abstention on item 21 because it pertains to medical marijuana-related businesses, and one of my sons is involved in that industry. I will be voting on all other items. Are there any other items the council wishes to bring forward? Councilwoman, anybody? Are you okay?
All right.
Down here, you okay?
They're
We're
good, Your
okay.
Honor. Then I would move to approve the consent agenda items 12 through 26.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve agenda items 12 to 26. Please vote and please post. That motion carries. And, excuse me one second, yes, Councilman Conklin?
Your Honor, thank you. On the items we just voted on, I don't intend to call anything back. I just wanted to say that the change of ownership of the Royal Links is of interest to me. I simply want to have the new owners meet with me, if possible, so that we can discuss what's happening over there at that wonderful golf course, since it has changed ownership and it had a turbulent past. So I know that Mr. Luce is out there, and he'll direct them to get in touch with our office. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully that clarifies on the links. Thank you very much. And on agenda item 27, Mayor Pro Tem?
Your Honor, would like to trail agenda item 27 to the end of the meeting with your permission, if that's possible.
Thank
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
you. Do we need to vote? Okay. Agenda item 28, discussion for possible action regarding holding a public meeting related to the selection of the school associate superintendents as defined in Nevada Administrative Code Chapter 388G pertaining to Clark County School District Reorganization Act. This is in reference to all wards. That's 28.
Good morning, Mayor, member, and members of the council. Lisa Morris-Hibbler, Director of Youth Development and Social Innovation. This item, on September 9, 2016, the State Board of Education adopted the Administrative Code, Chapter 388G, Section 20.2A, under the Clark County School District Act. The regulation gives local government agencies certain authorities to hold a public meeting within 10 days of being notified by the superintendent of the candidates who he intends to hire. The governing body of the city may hold a public meeting to question the superintendent and the candidates for the vacant position and receive public input. The public meeting must be held before Wednesday, November 16th, 2016. After any such meeting, or if no such meeting is held after the 10 days, the superintendent can, in his sole discretion, hire a candidate for the vacant position. Staff is recommending that we do not hold a separate public meeting and rather accept the recommendation of the school selection committee to select the school associate superintendents. And on that school selection committee was principals representing each of the 16 performance zones, jurisdictional representatives, including myself, and then also Superintendent Skorkowski and Dr. Mike Barton.
Thank you, and I'd like to read into the record, because of having served on the Technical Advisory Committee for the reorganization of the Clark County School District, which our Governor Sandoval had created, and attended numerous meetings, listening to an inordinate amount of public comment throughout the year. Several public hearings were also held by the city. We did, in fact, hold, what, 4?
3.
3. We are well aware of what our community wants. They all want quality education for all of our students, regardless of socioeconomic or any other differences, with measurable results. Both the legislature and the Technical Advisory Committee had recommended that the top 3 finalists for each associate superintendent position for each of the 16 zones be forwarded to the City Council for review. The council could then have questioned these candidates for input back to the superintendent for determining which of the 3 we were recommending he select. This was designed to ensure local input in the selection decision. Unfortunately, the school district board of trustees invoked legal arguments to challenge this process. So now the superintendent alone narrows the field to 1 candidate per zone. While this is very frustrating, this decision has already been made and the candidates have already been chosen. So holding a public meeting would be both perfunctory and not accomplish anything new. Despite all of this, I'm very pleased Dr. Hibbler, representing our city, was able to participate in the interview process, was able to submit questions to the superintendent for his private interviews. Therefore, rather than holding a public meeting, I am suggesting the council request the veta on these candidates and written reports from each of the chosen finalists regarding detailed plans for the schools within their zones and within our city. Council members should then submit written questions and comments to the new associate superintendents, should they choose, detailing the hopes and expectations for outcome. So I'm going to submit this to the clerk so it's a matter of record here. So at this point, do you have any questions for Dr. Hibbler?
No, I just want to say, Mayor, that I'm very glad that you did that, because it is very confusing, and if they chose a different way, if anything goes wrong, I don't want them to blame any of us, because we had no opportunity to participate in the way the legislature meant that we should. And so I'm very pleased that you did do that. And in addition to what you requested in writing, could we also have sort of an outline of how they're going to do this? In other words, who's here, and how are they handling special education? You know, I have never seen a complete outline, I don't know if you have, but I haven't, of how this is all going to be done. They're selecting people to do it, so I would appreciate that, in addition to what the mayor did very well in requesting.
Thank you very much. Councilman Coffin.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thanks for your service on that committee to try to help make sense out of what the legislature did. The thing that troubles me is that this is all, it's not been done in secrecy, it's been done in a hurry. And frankly, outside the glaring light of the legislature, which meets and then has not met for a year and a half, and in so doing, it can't help but be confusing. I mean, I join with Councilwoman Tarkanian in saying I don't quite understand it. And I used to understand how education worked and how education funding worked. Very complicated and not easily undone or unwound in one legislative session or in the 18 months between that session and the next. There has been a quiet movement for years to try to break up the school district. And somehow or another, now maybe it's well-intentioned and maybe there are ways to to decentralize it, but it is confusing because all of it seems to be piled into one package, and some of it seems to be in conflict with other parts. And here we have an election from this day, 7 days, in which changes could happen in the legislature. All of that work that's been done could be undone and reheard and restudied. And in fact, I'm guaranteeing that'll happen. And so now that means that whatever we're doing now is a waste of time and a waste of the public's time. It certainly has opened up things to the public, and I think the participation by the general public in the schools is a good thing. But I don't see moving the deck chairs around here, really, in essence, that's what's being done, is going to help the state of education in Southern Nevada. So I'm a product of that private and parochial and public schools, and I've always watched it all these 65 years, and it was slowly being unified when I was a youth. I would sure hate to see it suddenly disintegrated, because things like that are revolutionary, and we do not really want to govern in a revolutionary manner with an institution that evolved very slowly. So for that reason, I'm certainly going to vote for this. I just want to say, I guess I have to register my objection to the process, and I hope that it slows down and gets more under control so that, like Councilwoman Tarkanian and I and a million other people in town, we can figure out what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I would entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
May I
Ms.
just make a
Fretwell.
quick kind of summary
Yes.
comment? So what we will do is we will ask for the detailed plans by zone and school of these new associate superintendents, as well as their resumes. We are going to ask the superintendent for an org chart, which is what I believe Councilwoman's asking for, and specifically how special ed's being addressed in these plans. So we'll make sure we have that. Councilman Coffin, to your point about speed, this selection process definitely went faster than we were ready for. Thank goodness, and thanks to Dr. Morris-Hibler for dropping everything on her calendar to be in these interviews for 3 straight days. We want to frame up for you by the end of the year how we as a city are going to try and adapt to these new regulations and this new regulatory structure, particularly going into the legislature, where some of these issues may be instituted, changed, or addressed, so that we're very clear on what your expectations are as that discussion unfolds. But more importantly, as new associate superintendents potentially are having to be selected, that we're not caught in this very quick to respond because we've got interviews already scheduled and we can't even get an item on your agenda to get someone appointed, for instance. So I want to get ahead of that for the next round. So Lisa and Scott and I will be working with you and your staff over the next couple of months to kind of frame that up. And we do have things in place that can help us. We've got the Innovation and Education Committee that's been helping us on your strategic plan. It's an administrative committee. There may be a role for them to play going forward a little bit differently than the strategic planning process, for instance. So I just want to tell you that we are working on that. We realize, I feel like we got caught a little flat-footed by the speed of this process, and I want to set something up with you that will help us get ahead of that game going forward.
Thank you. I think it comes now to a point of clarification in response to you, Councilman and Councilwoman, particular in the entire body here. From the point of view of this technical advisory committee that was created, the role of that committee of some 20 people from across the entire community in various roles and positions and perspectives was to advise the legislative body and give input. It was not until the last meeting that we were asked for any input at all. We heard from the public, we heard from professionals, we heard from a lot of different entities. And so the reality is we know what the issues are, we know what our people want from the public hearings we've been having, but it's to effectuate change that now we're in the crosshairs because legal counsel advised the Board of Trustees that they're changing what the ultimate resolve under Senator Roberson was recommending to do with the school district. So I am sort of caught in the same place, having sat through over a year of meetings, sometimes all day long, that it's smoke and mirrors. The most important thing is we try to address our inner city schools and children with differences, whether it's hearing impaired, different special needs, our blind children, our very gifted children, all different children and all socioeconomic differences. The issue is, as we go forward to reorganize, it has to be about funding. And we all know in the state of Nevada the funds are totally conflicted and crunched to their barest minimum. And so what we did ask for as an advisory committee to the legislature was to specifically get a hold of central office payroll, job descriptions, and expenditures, because it was the feeling of several on the technical advisory committee that we need to find funds in order to improve the school system, put more money into each child's tuition in the public school system, and more money into being able to hire and retain the best in faculty. It all comes down to the dollars. And while there is a open ability to go look at expenditures, we are unable to pierce the veil of central office expenditures. So where we are, and absolutely saying that Councilman Coffin was absolutely right on, and what fortunately Dr. Morris Hibbler was able to do by attending these meetings was at least give some input. But the end result is that we still, this body has no input into what's happening in our inner city schools in this particular process. So my concerns are that these are our schools, these are our people, and every child deserves equal education at the highest level we possibly can provide. And it's about the money on top of everything else, and there's money there that we can't even access that is part of the public information of transparency. Councilwoman?
I think you're absolutely right in saying it all gets down to the money. My concern is this. There are certain responsibilities the state expects of the school board, the school district. There are also certain responsibilities that the state expects of this council. And you know, there are many things for which we don't have enough money. Right now, I'm getting all kinds of problems in our public parks. We don't have enough marshals, or else we can't afford to fence them. But we have such crimes that are occurring there that it frightens me. And yet, one of the major responsibilities for us is public safety. And I really feel we're not doing as well as we should be doing in that. And if we expect, expand more, it cuts down, I believe, eventually on the monies and the funds we're going to have. And I would suggest that somebody who looks at the budget look at the fact that they use long-term subs in special ed and other places, which does not take the full amount of money that a regularly certified teacher would take. Where does that other money go? It's on a line. In fact, I could find the name of the line in the budget if somebody wanted it. But there's a line in the budget, that money goes there. Where's it going after that? Well, we have kids who are being educated by individuals who have no training, autistic children. Can you imagine with no training going in and taking a class like that? Well, that's what they're doing. They're doing that. And also, the fact of the matter is we have heavy, heavy responsibilities in our own city that we have to meet, and we're not meeting them, and they're at the top of the requirements that the state says we should be doing. And particularly, as I said, I found in the parks, I've talked with a couple of other councilmen, and it's the same thing. I don't want to see us get dragged into, what is it that you sink in easily?
Quicksand.
Quicksand. Because if we have no ability or any authority or anything like that, we're going to get sucked right into that. And we can't afford to do that and then, shirk some of our other duties. We've got to make sure we're taking care of what we're responsible for first. And I love education. And I don't know anybody who respects you more for what you've done and how you've hung in there through all of this. But I know that we have to be very careful. Thank you.
So, thank you. So the purpose, at this point, we'll entertain a motion then that we're not going to hold these public meetings because there's no point. It's absolutely
Do we actually need a motion, or just
Yes.
no action on this whatsoever? All right, I'll move to follow staff's recommendation, Your Honor.
Thank you. There's a motion, and please vote, and please post. And I would like to add, since we're looking, and there it is. There it is, unanimous. I know the issues as far as the equity of spending. It's the same even in the suburban areas, our wards 2, 4, and 6, because some of the schools, the high schools, may have more programs available to them than the other schools in other wards. And so it really is as well. I mean, we have a critical issue in the heart of the city because of the socioeconomic issues, but truly around the entire city, it's a major, major problem. And so we're not going to hold the public meetings because they didn't really give us any license to do anything. But I echo, and I know the whole council does, Dr. Hibbler. Thank you so much for chairing this, and we can't wait to get back from you. Is there an estimate of when this might happen, or the timeline when we're going to know who's selected, so we can get the information that Ms. Fretwell's clearly delineated we'd like?
My understanding is the superintendent's supposed to notify us this week of his selections. And there's a requirement in that regulation that each of those associate superintendents and the ones that serve the city, so not just the 8 that are our primary zones, the other 5 or 6 that are covered by the city will also be providing reports. So we can anticipate 13 reports every quarter from these new associate superintendents. That's why I put on the record what I did. I feel like we need to figure out as a city how we handle these new responsibilities under these regulations so that we know, based on some of the comments you've made today, how involved you want us to be and on what fronts. And so that's going to take a little more time. We hope to have that wrapped up by the end of the year.
And then what authority, power do you have, and who's going to be training these associate superintendents according to what model? I mean, how can we, it seems to me our hands are so tied in this all critical area. And so we're just sort of responsive. That's all we can be at this point because we have no authority, correct?
Mayor,
you
we
have
can
no authority.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can get a timeline on the training. I know Superintendent Skorkowski said that once the associate superintendents were hired, they had an aggressive schedule. As you know from sitting on the Technical Advisory Committee, they have to have the model ready to go by the August 17 school year. So.
And as far as the authority question,
Mayor, here's how I would interpret the regulations that are currently in place and the new framework that's being worked towards, is that we have the potential to be involved, for instance, how Dr. Morris-Hibbler was involved in the selection process, and to be informed, meaning these associate superintendents will provide us regular reports. Those are the 2 roles that the cities have been the local governments, I should say, including Clark County, have been carved out to address the community needs. And Lisa may have more to say, but I believe it's involvement and communication, not decision-making authority or other things associated with school administration.
I'd like to ask then, with your permission on this, Ms. Fretwell, if Dr. Hibbler, in going back, can ask that specific question, what is the role for us of the city council or management as we go forward with whomever is selected and whatever they're doing? I mean, what is the pathway? What if they're doing beautifully? Wonderful. Let's hope that happens in each. But let's assume we're beginning to get calls because we are the ones that are fielding the calls all the time. So what is our pathway ahead of time with issues at that level? Please.
Yes. We can do that.
Thank you. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you very much. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, thank you.
Thank you. So cute. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. We're going on to agenda items 29 and 30. And this is Public Works staff, and I want to give you some background at the council. Then I'm going to read these in. This is about the downtown mobility improvements that we're talking about. And as you know, there's been a downtown master plan that staff and others have been working on for a long time, which is at completion. Back a couple of years ago, having been traveling around the city and traveling out of state, it was very clear to me, especially when we opened and the planning was for opening the new shops at the premium outlets and talking with the leadership at the World Market Center that twice a year has these very large markets, furniture, wholesale furniture and accessory markets, that many of the people are coming in, of course, from our resort corridor, but when they're in town and they're either at the World Market or at the premium outlets, actually they might even come in and do more things downtown if they could get around more easily. The parking at the premium outlets is nightmarish, and certainly at the World Market Center. But then, too, in talking with the boards of museums in the downtown, and in talking with the hotels downtown, and listening to Councilman Barlow a couple of years ago talking about connecting the east side of the railroad tracks to the west side of the railroad tracks, and we started to come up with the concept of maybe some bridge somewhere. It was really, the idea came, and I saw it first in Coronado, California, a free circulator to move people easily, comfortably, on a regular schedule, free, in our downtown to connect the hotels, the museums, the Muni Court, with what's on the east side, including the Cleveland Clinic, but wanting to encourage more hotel tourism in our hotels downtown and service what we're doing better, all the businesses. So at that point, a couple of years ago, I did go to Ms. Fretwell and Mr. Cervantes and a small group to talk about what do you think about a free circulator, which, much like the buses in other cities, you charge by different entities a certain fee a month, and they can put up advertisements inside the vehicle and also wrap the vehicle that it moves around, so it's marketing, advertising, and providing income for the driver, et cetera, to offset the expenses. So over a period of time, Mr. Cervantes and staff have been working on, it's always better to start crawling, then walk, then run. So our crawl would be a small circulating path close in, because one day, hopefully, if it works, it will end up going to the medical district as well and connect the medical school with Symphony Park, where we have great ideas of things going on. And so this was the first step. So our Public Works, and now under our wonderful Mr. David Bowers and Jorge Cervantes, former head of Public Works and now Community Development, and staff have gone into a much more thorough with some wonderful new ideas to add to it. And so I just wanted you to have the background. This has been 2 years in the process of trying to look at this from the perspective of the businesses that would love to have this on a regular, consistent, safe basis where they're getting people moving in and out, can fill up the hotels more consistently. And obviously when we have big events such as whatever, what was it, Life is Beautiful or First Friday, you add to the circulators and you may do different types of routing. So anyway, that's the background, and I want you to know that this is something that our staff's been working very hard on. And now the whole show is yours with all your beautiful projects. Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor, members of council. My name is David Bowers, Director of Public Works, and thank you for giving me the time to present this morning. There are two items. 29 is update.
I'm so sorry.
No, and you mentioned that. You said combine them.
I did, but I have to read them, sorry.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So, we're going to hear items 29 and 30 together. So let me read 29. Report by Public Works staff on an overview and update on the efforts that are underway for developing downtown mobility improvements. These are Wards 1, 3, and 5, Councilwoman Tarkanian and Councilman Coffin Barlow. And agenda item 30, discussion for possible action regarding award of contract number 160174-T as in Thomas, F as in Frank, shuttle services contract for operation of downtown circulator bounded by Stewart, Las Vegas Boulevard, Charleston, and Main Street, Department of Public Works. Award recommended to Las Vegas Free Ride, LLC, not to exceed $980,000. Traffic Improvements Capital Project Fund, Wards 1, 3, and 5, as I mentioned. Sorry, didn't mean to do
No problem. Thank you. Again, David Bowers, Director of Public Works. And the first item, 29, is an update on the downtown mobility, what we currently have in place, and what's coming in the near future, and of course, a couple items on today's agenda. I'm going to start off with what's recently approved this year was first the Mobility Master Plan. It was a 20-year look ahead. Basically, what can we do to make transportation better for our citizens, our visitors, within the entire city? And then the second one was the Downtown Master Plan, and that took a closer look at our downtown streets and how people are getting around. You know, what can we do to make our town better for that? And they both looked at solutions such as the free ride and pedicabs, which are also on the agenda. So it's great to see this moving forward so quickly. So first I want to talk about our partners at the RTC and what they're doing for us with their bus service. The first one, the Deuce, is a service that runs between the downtown and the Strip all the way down to the South Transfer Terminal. Services 10 points within our downtown core, and as well as, you know, the Bonneville Transit Center. It's a 15-minute headway service, comes pretty often, and actually operates 24 hours. So it's an amazing bus service for our downtown visitors. The second is the Downtown Express and Strip Express. This gives you a little faster trip between the Strip and downtown, and you can see with the blue lines there that it operates mainly in the corridor for the Premium Outlet Mall, as well as Symphony Park, the World Furniture Market, and Fremont Street. And it has a very high ridership, and it's a great service. It also stops at the Bonneville Transit Center, connecting all these buses together. The third one, which is a major factor for us, is the Boulder Highway Express, and what this does is it services mainly our customers on the east side of Las Vegas Boulevard. So you'll see Fremont East, and then this route runs down Boulder Highway and basically all the way into Henderson. So it's a great connection, and again connects into the Bonneville Transit Center. So, and the reason I mentioned the Bonneville Transit Center is because with these 37 stops portrayed by these 3 bus routes, you can get to any one of these 37 places by either direct route on one of these buses or stopping and making a transfer at the Bonneville Transit Center. So it's a really impressive system for us. The next one I want to talk about is something that's in the works right now, and that's the Maryland Parkway Urban Light Rail. And what this is going to do is give additional connectivity to the medical district in our downtown area. It's going to connect to the Bonneville Transit Center once again for additional connectivity. It's going to service the Fremont and Fremont East areas, and then run down Maryland Parkway through the UNLV corridor and eventually end up near the airport. So it's a great thing coming towards us. Basically next year we're going to have the environmental impacts figured out, and they're saying 2020 or 21 ultimately to have the service in place. So this next one is really the big item. Item number 30 is coming up next on your agenda is the downtown circulator. When we went through an RFP, and as the mayor mentioned, it's been a 2-year effort that's really been very interesting for us. You know, it was a great idea to start with, and I really think this is going to provide the type of connectivity that we don't currently have downtown. While sometimes you don't want to wait for a bus, it's maybe easier to walk, you know, the 6-7 blocks. It would be even better if you had the ability to jump on one of these smaller electric shuttles and get to your destination quickly. So we're going to have a presentation from the free ride representatives, you know, shortly after mine, and I'll let us get into more detail at that point. And this next slide, we're going to get more detail, is actually the original fixed route we were looking at. As the mayor mentioned, we're going to look at something that's more primary in nature as the initial rollout, and we'll discuss that over the next few months.
At the bubble to the left, Shadow, Grand Central, the initial plan that I know is being worked on, et cetera, was the more centralized. This was for the medical district connection, or was that really a thought maybe we would do that right away too?
No, we don't expect to do that as an initial point of fixed route service because we just don't have that density yet. But these first few months, we're going to mix the fixed ride with the on-demand service, and depending on how many calls we get there, it may indicate that we need to go there right away. So depending on what happens, with this combination fixed route on-demand service, we're going to learn a lot about what happens in this area, and hopefully, do create another stop because the demand is so high.
And are we in a position to, through our PIO, as far, really this is a huge opportunity for businesses to market their businesses. So as we try to alert the public that these services are going to be there, is that, yes. Okay.
Yes.
That's all I needed was a head shake from David.
We will be working closely with our communications department, yes.
Right.
It's a
Thank
major
you. And
part of
yes,
that.
I know Ms.
Mayor,
Fretwell.
I
Yes.
just want to mention that, I think one of the things that, as David mentioned, we're going to be kind of going through a process over the next couple of months as we're rolling this out to identify some of these key points, right? One of the things that we've been trying to focus in on are what are some of the key destinations, some of the key employment centers where people may want to take advantage of a free shuttle. And I know David said we may not be doing much over in the medical district, but I don't want people to get locked in on that, because the bottom line is we have almost 10,000 employees in the medical district right now. So we have 10,000 employees in the medical district that might actually want to be able to get over to Pickett Restaurant. It could be Latai, or it could be Triple George. And, depending on how this route gets defined, that may be a stop that we would want to have, for instance. So I think we're still under design on what the right route is, so I just didn't want to leave it out there that might actually be in the final kind of.
Okay. I just was more curious because I know the medical district is growing, changing, and I don't know when the occupancy of the UNLV Medical School is going to start bringing those students in, which really is going to create a bigger mass. And is this right, what we're looking at now, or do you figure that's a couple of years out?
Madam Mayor, I think picking them up on what Betsy just said, there are 9,600 employees in the medical district today. That's not including anything going forward to the new medical school. That's going to be about a 2-year build horizon in terms of design development of the new school. So right now, you have a concentration of almost 10,000 people. And one of the biggest concerns they've expressed to us in all the surveys we've done is there's nothing that supports them substantially in the district in the way of restaurants, retail, or anything they can do while they're there working.
Right. I know because we get inquiries on District 1 or in Ward 1, but that's who they want to serve, and all they seem to have is where the Omelet House is and what was formerly Latai, and to get them to move. So there's a lot of call for that.
Right. I had mentioned this at the CMO briefing yesterday, and I think we also should remember that September of next year will be the first class starting. It's my understanding at the school.
2017, and
that's 2017.
Had robust applications the day they opened.
Absolutely. So that means that the first class will be starting next year, which means also that the first teachers and things, people who are not there now will also. So that's going to add quite a bit in less than a year.
And more probably housing, real
Absolutely.
interest in housing over there as well. So that connection of east to west too, that really bodes well for all of this. But I see us, if it's on the individual basis, I could see the need for hundreds of these vehicles. And I mean, it's a very exciting time for us. And I think says a statement to the larger community, free, if we can find help for the private sector to go ahead and do their advertising on them.
And we should, I just want to add, we should continue to look at how fast that's going to be coming in the school.
If I can, Your Honor, and
Yes,
Councilwoman, I certainly don't disagree, but I think we have an opportunity here to explore both levels of transportation. I have been keenly watching the millennial shift in transportation and using that application on the phone to get a ride to go somewhere, which is increasing every day. That being said, I think adjustments, Ms. Fretwell, can be made to this plan as we move forward. I think we have, 4 months to get into action on this, and I think where the demand is going to lie, and I'm very interested in the demand when we go to the application to see where people are traveling to. Yesterday in briefing, we talked about collecting data. So if I want to go to Cashman Field, can I get there? If I can't, is that data stored so eventually the company or we, the city, can say, hey, we need to extend the route to this point? That can happen, am I correct?
Correct. That's something that we can work with the vendor on over the next couple of months to make sure that we're capturing that data of areas that aren't currently served. Like the mayor said, we're trying to kind of keep it focused and effective in the downtown area, but we may learn a lot in the initial months of service by the people that are taking advantage of these two service types, so that we can make it smarter and better and more efficient. So yeah, we will continue to try and gather that information about the users and the people's intended destinations or pickup points so that we can modify the service delivery as appropriate.
Well, and two, I think our public needs to realize, we just started, we have 21 locations with how many hundreds of these bike share. I mean, the younger people today and people living in this city, including more middle-aged, maybe some older, that have moved back into town because that's the thrust, are biking, taking advantage of it and walking it. And of course, too, we know we have Uber and Lyft already here, and some of them stockpiled at the hotels. So the issue is what we're trying to work through is what's the best way to service our people, but not only the tourist and the resident, but also the business, because we are about building business downtown and enhancing everything that we can for that. So this shared concept, as you continue to explore it, and with these routes, I think it's fabulous. It's very exciting for us. And
can I add to that, Mayor?
Yeah.
And likewise with Ms. Fretwell's answer to making adjustments to the plan, likewise with the medical district. If they're, we've got 10,000 employees there now, and we're going to have more in the future.
Without question.
We've got to review these routes and use that data to make this a better system for not only our employees that work in the downtown core, but our visitors and anyone who visits the downtown area. So I think a combination of both fixed and on demand. Is that how you use that term, on demand, Ms. Farrell? Will be interesting to watch how that unfolds, and getting the businesses on board.
And it's training people, because if they know something's reliable, then they're just going to get there. They know they got 20 minutes before the next fix, or if they want to go ahead and see what's available and what the wait time would be, because unless our new company is going to have hundreds of these. I know how popular Uber and the apps are. I mean, hugely
Well,
popular.
Mayor, let me try to get some information out of Mr. Bowers. Mr. Bowers, you attended that meeting with me last week, and Tina Quigley, Executive Director of the Regional Transportation, put on at
Yes.
the Innovation.
On the Transportation
Center.
Innovations, yes.
I mean, some of the information that we got out of that, and I couldn't stay for the whole thing, but it was huge in regards to the way transportation is changing today and what it's going to look like 5 years from now and 10 years from now. So that transition, Mayor and Council, is going to be phenomenal and really interesting to
Well, you've
watch
got
as it
the
unfolds.
automatics, you've
Yep.
got the light rail, you've got so many things that are affecting all of
Yep,
this.
absolutely.
So we just want to make sure that we spend money if we have to, but if we can get other people to pay for it, it's always better.
Well, and it'd be great if you could share some of the things you took out from that meeting as you're giving this presentation to us, so we'd have a better understanding as well.
Sure, thank
Mayor.
you. All right, so with that, and like I said, we'll get into more details in the free ride when those representatives come up for item 30. The next one is also an agenda item today. It's an ordinance that approves pedicabs and buses to operate in our downtown core on restricted streets. And I'm really looking forward to this as well. You go into some other larger cities, you see these pedicabs, and they're really a part of the culture. It's almost like artwork sometimes because you have different personalities of drivers, the bikes are decorated. So I'm really looking forward to this type of service for our downtown visitors and citizens.
Are you going to be coming back on that item, Mr. Bowers?
I'll stay
later?
up here, or I can come back for that, sure.
On the pedicab?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then finally, this is the bike share program. The mayor is part of the grand opening recently, and it's a very impressive bike share program to roll out. The RTC has done an amazing job getting this going for us. We're using B-Cycle. It's a proven company throughout the nation, and we're starting with 21 stops, 180 bikes. So it's good to see that they're doing this with a great mass. That's not something they're trying in a corner of the town, because with this type of mass, it gives you the destinations, the places to park the bikes, and I think it's really going to work well, and they're already seeing a good reaction to this.
And was this, did I misunderstand at the RTC that this was a federal grant to buy
That's correct. They received federal funding to make this happen.
like $1 million
Correct.
or something?
Yes, yes.
And so-
And the rates, in case you're curious, what they're planning on is $4 for a half-hour ride, 30 minutes, and then $8 for a 24-hour period, or $20 for a 30-day period. And then through December 31st, they're giving you half price, only $2 for the half-hour ride. So might be a good opportunity to check it out for lunch.
Okay, and as you know, sitting on the RTC board, I know, because I've asked for it, to make sure that they share the data that they're getting on their ridership from the locations, which is going to help us with our circulator to find out what's happening with these chosen 21 sites that they have in the city. Again, because we are a confined area, and what a great way to do the study. So hopefully our partners now will be able to look at that data too with Ms. Quigley.
Oh, I'm sure they will. All right, and then finally, I also wanted to mention, and on top of this, these recent mobility advances, we are continuing to expand the multiple streetscape corridors that we have in the downtown area. We want to make this, as suggested in the downtown master plan, a much better place for our community and visitors to walk, to bike. In fact, we already have 75 blocks in the downtown area that have bike lanes, and with the expansion of Main Commerce, we're going to have an additional 25. So 100 blocks, we're doing great. Popularity of Uber and Lyft has really changed our streetscape, and as you've mentioned, Councilman Ross, this type of service is starting to affect the public bus service. They've seen a downturn in the usage of public bus service because some people prefer to have the on-demand spot service, pick me up here, drop me off there. So it's affecting how things work, and we see in the next 5 years that may change further.
What is TNC, please?
Transportation Network Company.
Transportation Network
Company.
Company. Okay, thanks.
Yes, certainly. And then finally, I don't want to leave out our existing cab network. They were the original on-demand service. And, they're definitely fill a major gap in our community, and they'll continue to advance as well. So with that, I want to move on to item 30, if you
Could
allow.
I just make another comment, and that is where you're talking about expanding the bike network. Again, I think you should be looking at the medical district too, because I think a lot of students will be riding bikes and things along that line. And right now, you don't have any. The closest one is the mall. So if, when you're doing the expanding, I'm assuming you'll be looking at that area.
Sure. Our next update, Councilwoman Tarkanian, we'll stop by and show you what our plans are in that area. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how much we're doing.
I always love to be pleasantly surprised. Thank you.
Councilman Coffin, go
Thank you,
ahead,
ma'am.
please.
The question I just have is a simple one here on the issue of inventory shrinkage. How are we doing? How out there is the public treating these bicycles? Do we have a number that we can say are unaccounted for or destroyed or damaged? I'm curious how they're being respected by people, particularly in downtown Ward 3, where there isn't a lot of respect for many things by some of the vagrants down there.
Councilman, I have not received any negative feedback on the service so far. As far as I know, everything's been working great. There's been a steady increase in the amount of service, the amount of bikes taken out, and I have not heard of any problems, but if you'd like, I could check on that and
I would
follow
very
up
much
with
like
you.
to ask,
And it's, if I
what the
might
toll
add,
is.
Councilman, it's so new also. I mean, sometimes they may have lost it. I think there has been feedback of questioning the cost, and is there a year's subscription for less? that you can just use it all year long and have that ability.
Sure.
But the cost for the half-hour ride is one that we're just hearing things back. It's a lot for a half hour.
Okay.
I guess that should handle it for me. Thanks.
Okay, so with that, on item 30, for the actual free ride item, I'd like to introduce James Miras and Jason Bagley from the free ride. Come on up.
Welcome, gentlemen. If you say your names again for the record and your company, and if you want to give your website, we got a lot of listening people, and they may be from somewhere else, and say, we want to hire these gentlemen too.
That's right. Great. Thank you for having us, Mayor, council members. I appreciate the time. We're excited about the project. So.
And you are?
I'm James Mears, co-founder of the Free Ride. This is my business partner, Jason Bagley, also of the Free Ride.
Wonderful.
So we got into a lot of these questions about the idea of on-demand, the fixed route, the flexibility, where we're starting kind of more centralized. I'm going to run through this pretty quick. We'll get high-level points just about the cars, kind of so everybody has a good idea of what we're planning on doing. As we somewhat got into, transportation industry is changing tremendously. It's going from fixed routes to on-demand to hotspots to smaller about-town transportation. And what we try to do here, higher level, is we fill a niche. We're part of this mobility mix with the bike shares, with the Ubers and Lyfts, with the fixed route buses coming in and out of the downtown area. But what we do is circulate people around downtown. This circulates people for business. It circulates people for moving between work, lunch. It invites people to come downtown instead of being deterred by parking, transportation once they get there. If I get there, what do I do? How do I explore? Stuff like that. So we fill this niche in the mobility mix. We do have an on-demand app. It's very similar to an Uber or Lyft. You open the app. We are in a geo-fenced coverage area is the difference, and that's what will be defined. We'll see a slide in a bit. So you can only get picked up and dropped off within that coverage area. For now, that is going to be pretty centralized around downtown with hopes to expand as we learn about the demand, how the city is using it, how downtown is using it, the advancements in the medical district and connecting that if we have more students and stuff that want to.
Can you address as you go through this too what you do in special events? Like we have the rodeo comes in and we have things that are going on in different locations. It might be at Cashman. We've got something going this weekend. Then you have the First Friday. You have Life is Beautiful. I mean, in any of these cities that you're already successfully in place, what do you do? Are you finding you're just adding more vehicles, bigger vehicles, or what do you do as you go along through these, please?
Yeah, thank you. We do operate in 10 other cities around the country, some smaller, some bigger. A good example of an event space is we operate in downtown San Diego. So they have the convention center right there, as well as Petco Park for baseball games. Not as big of an influx of people, but there's 81 of them, I think, roughly, throughout the year. We tend to, the beauty of the on-demand part is it moves to how people are using it. So if there's more demand from one area or to one area, from one area, it learns and it's flexible on its own. So then we can learn from that and target vehicles in certain areas to account for these events. And that's kind of the innate flexibility of the size of the vehicles, the number of passengers, the combination of hotspots, fixed stops per se, and as well as on-demand. So throughout the year, we're also capable on the app of closing down roads, figuring out ways where we're trying to telling people how to move, as well as we're learning how to move.
So you, knowing downtown San Diego extremely well and the Gaslight and the convention business there, in an event such as a baseball game at Petco, you more move vehicles or you add vehicles?
It depends. At certain peak times, we can actually put more vehicles in use. And that's the beauty of the data from that, is that we can see how it flows and then in the future, then push those vehicles at certain times. Okay, we know there's a baseball game at 7 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, we'll add a few more drivers on for this peak time period, put more cars out there. And then also know where to put them before, because we'll know where the pickup drop-off spots are.
And do you also service, there's an area in the public, there's an area called Seaport Village, which
Yep.
is a concentration of the backside of the hotels on the bay,
Yep.
but also independent little businesses. Now, do you, are you employed by the city in contract, or are you employed by the different vendors at Seaport Village, the hotels, Petco? How does that work?
So we are in San Diego specifically.
Specifically.
That was the first route we took to partner up with the municipal organization. We are in contract with Civic San Diego, which
Okay.
is, their revenue is not taxpayer revenue, so it's not funded by the city and the
Right.
taxpayers. It's downtown community parking district, so they have a laid out district of all the parking meter revenue that comes within that district is spent by Civic San Diego to improve that parking infrastructure, movement, circulation in that district.
Which is done especially for the hotels, because they have a huge concentration down there,
Yep.
which I'm sure for people to get around individually, so you don't get any pushback from hotels or the convention center or something else that you're in competition with?
No, we're there for the entirety of downtown. We still are a private entity that is funded by sponsorships as part of it. So we don't push service towards one location or another. But the idea is, as we grow it and as the demand grows from those places, they'll be able to help also sponsor the service to add more cars so their demand can be filled as well.
And how many years have you been in San Diego?
It'll be 3 years. However, with the municipal organization, we're in contract for, we launched 3 months ago.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
These are the vehicles. There's also a new model of this vehicle that just came out. They are called GEM vehicles, made by Polaris Industries. GEM was originally owned by Chrysler. Polaris bought them. Polaris, who makes ATVs and other, vehicles of that sort, off-roading stuff, has they see the future of this small capacity electric vehicle as well. So this is, we're not tied to this company now. We've actually had conversations with others, but the vehicle is 100% electric. It has 6 seats, so it's a driver plus 5 passengers. And right now with the battery technology, depending what battery technology we invest in, they get anywhere from 35 for the lowest option miles per charge, up to 75 miles per charge.
Great.
And Mayor James Bowers, just to interject, we've been working with Local Motors. We've been working with Local Motors, who's an innovative company. It's already in the city of Las Vegas, working with the downtown project to manufacture vehicles with 3D printing, at least a portion of them. And they have an electric shuttle that's fully autonomous. So eventually we'd love to bring these two together and remove the driver and have this vehicle run autonomously, so it's automatically coming to those destinations for us.
And is this through which company? Is that part of the old Ahern?
No,
no?
The Local
Totally
Motors is
different.
a startup company that's trying to develop an electric autonomous vehicle. And in fact, it's already operating on a remote basis in different
great.
locations.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilman Barlow.
Yes, Mr. Bowers, when you say autonomous, is that no driver? Is that
That's
what you're
correct.
referencing? That's interesting. And so how would that work? Is it on a magnetic system?
Scary, isn't it?
There's different methods for autonomous vehicles to direct. They work on different factors. One is a GIS, like a Google-type map, that they know the routes where to go. They have highly sensitive LiDAR, which is a form of radar, to tell them exactly where obstacles are. They have high-definition radar. They have high-definition cameras. There are just multiple different systems for these vehicles to operate from, to know where they're at and function.
And do we have a prototype here in Las Vegas?
There was one displayed, I believe, yesterday by Local Motors as part of another show, and I'm not sure if they brought a vehicle down for SEMA, which starts today, but you may be able to see one there. And if you'd like, I could follow up on that and let you know.
Yeah, I would like to know if there, in fact, is a prototype that possibly can be displayed maybe during one of the council meetings so that we can get a better understanding, or a specific meeting for the council members to actually see how that actually works.
Sure. I know it was in town just last week, so hopefully it's still in town and we can set that up for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure more than likely to be over at SEMA, so if there's something that you can do to help coordinate that, that would be helpful. Thank you.
I think one of the things, I sent a note out to all of you that had kind of an overview of what we're doing in the Innovation District downtown that includes some of the infrastructure work that we're doing to enable these autonomous transportation technologies. And so it might be worthwhile for us to try and schedule a new overview on that, because it's been about, 4 months or so, Dave, since we last brought this up. A lot of this work has been ongoing due to our Smart Cities Challenge grant that we attempted to get, that Columbus won, $140 million federal dollars to plug into their downtown. We really want to be competitive and be ready for these new technologies in our downtown area. Councilman, that's the only way we're going to have all the roads lead to downtown. I think it's the future. So it might be worthwhile for us to bring a separate item about some of these technologies. I will tell you that I just got back from being on a panel talking about what it takes for cities to be ready for this new technology. Jorge, Dave, Joanna, Mike Sherwood, we've got an entire team on innovations and technology that are working to help ready our city for what I see as a massive wave of change in how people get around. I think these free ride gentlemen and their company are beginning to show us how nimble these systems really need to be. I think it might be worthwhile to have a whole nother conversation about that, Councilman, and maybe bring in some experts from the field to talk with you all about how drastic these changes really are, because they may be understated at this moment in their impact on everything we're doing and the future of our investment, even in our mobility plan that we just adopted 3 months ago. It's already changing what we put in a plan 3 months ago. So that's how fast things are coming at us.
Why don't you plan on doing that then? Because I think that'd be important for all of us to understand the new technologies and what's really happening. It gets right back to my statement earlier about things in 5 years, what's transportation going to look like? In 10 years, what's it going to look like? So putting us as the city of Las Vegas in the right position for that to take place. So please continue, gentlemen. We'll schedule that.
Yeah. To that point, I think if you read, I've read a lot about the smart city in Columbus and what they're investing in, and a lot of it is geared towards smarter about town circulation mobility systems. So I think, introducing this in downtown Las Vegas is the first step in that direction. It's kind of right now what I see as the interim for the next 10, 15 years until that autonomous system can be built and created. Just moving along, we also saw the initial coverage area. So this is where we're going to identify key stops where to, but this will be the exact coverage area where you can request a ride on demand on the app, as well as get picked up, dropped off anywhere within that. We'll work with the businesses, the council, the mayor, anybody that has any input into where these key stops will be, but to make sure that we're promoting business, promoting movement, promoting circulation as we install the system.
Let me ask you this. On the app, when I'm doing on demand, do I put not only you'll know my location, but you'll also know my destination?
Yes.
So if my destination isn't within those boundaries, I won't be able to ask for a ride.
No.
Is that correct?
No. But to the point before, we're going to work with our development team to make sure we're tracking that
data.
So we know where people are trying to go and if there's a way to adjust the coverage area.
Okay, thank you. Please continue. Thank you, Mayor.
So this is phase one, and you'll see in the contract, phase one is kind of, as we were saying before, let's crawl before we walk, before we run, and introduce the system, see how people are using it, see where they're going. And phase one will be about 6 months, but we're going to do quarterly analysis on demand as well as sponsorship, interest, and businesses, and meet with people around the city and downtown to make sure we're covering our bases and promoting business and circulation around downtown. We're going to start with 6 cars for phase one. This will be enough to, I think, feel out the area and make sure we know what we're doing before we invest into more vehicles, more infrastructure, any of that. It's a very flexible system with quick turnaround time for expansion or change, and that's kind of the beauty of the smart system. That'll get us about 2,000 riders a week where we're comfortable filling that capacity. With a mixture of some fixed stops and on-demand. I think we'll be able to do more than that with those initial 6 vehicles, but a lot of it will be feeling it out as we go, as we launch, how people are using it, when and where they're using it.
And I'm sure, I mean, obviously you know this from other cities, but knowing this town so well, I know certainly that many of our places aren't going to be, the hotels aren't going to be sending over to the World Market Center, and after a certain hour, the Smith Center's closed. So those routes in the later hours, but downtown for Fremont East and Fremont Street and the hotels become, and that's where they're going to end up paying. Will this contract, would the businesses be paying you for advertising privileges, or do they pay the city?
So they will be paying us, and then we will be doing a revenue split with the city to reduce the net cost of this program.
Excellent.
So it'll be a 60-40 split, 60 to the city, 40 to us.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, please, Councilman.
If you will go back 2 slides, I would just like to see the route in which you have listed. And if you can walk me through the streets as far as the route, that would be helpful.
Would you like me to address
Yeah, because it's harder for me to see.
Sure, you can see Stewart Avenue to the north, adjacent to the old City Hall. Then we come down Las Vegas Boulevard. We cut over on Ogden and basically to hit the Fremont East area. Cut down on 8th, I believe, to the south, and then that follows Carson back to the west. Hit Las Vegas Boulevard again, down to the south, down to Charleston. We run along Charleston and then come back up. I believe that's Main Street there, and then yes, and then we cut up on Bonneville. You can see that there's a route that extends up into the Premium Outlet Mall area, comes back in, and then back along Main Street to the north.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's, you know, again, the coverage area, and we'll working with the businesses around downtown to kind of create those key stops, see where people are moving to and from.
And that's, Mayor, through you, and that was going to be my follow-up question as far as the ability to expand based on need or demand, pent-up demand. So you do have that flexibility, or we'll be working with the city in relation to where the calls for service will come in?
Definitely. And a lot of that additional expansion, especially earlier on, if it's warranted, will come from sponsorships and advertising from private sector. For example, Jason, who has a great relationship you can speak to quick with the CVB in Santa Monica,
right.
And they have a, you can tell
Yeah, we have a partnership with Santa Monica Travel and Tourism that partners us with 5 hotels currently. We're adding more as we go. So the hotel industry has been a big demand for our use, that people can just park at the hotel once and use us to get all around town. And I see the same opportunity here. And the whole model is just built on flexibility, that we can continuously review and adjust based on demand.
And I do think from our hotels, that's their specific interest, because they love them to get the housing of the World Market.
Right.
The people staying here, rather than going to the Strip and having to drive or wait for other types of vehicular travel, a cab or a Uber or whatever.
Sure.
And they just want to make that available. So that's why, not piecemeal, but collectively, you really have a huge marketing opportunity here to get people to buy in. Plus, every one of those 40 stores, the Premium Outlets, Muni-Court, whatever.
Your Honor.
So it's great, fabulous. Yes, please, Councilman.
Thank you. Not to delay this, but I'm glad you went back a couple of slides. So one of the questions I have here, and I hope I haven't missed it in the discussion while I was off the dais, you show the routes, and you, for example, are you're going through the Bonneville Underpass, and you're coming up right beside the Ruvo Center and within a short walk to the Smith Center. If a person is patronizing one of those 2 places, can they get off and or get on there by hailing the ride?
Yes, very much so. That's a big offering of ours, is that it is as well a flag down service as well as a fixed stop on-demand service. So anytime you see a vehicle, as long as it has enough seats left in it, even if somebody else is in it, that kind of creates the efficiencies of shuttling multiple parties to fill up all the seats in the car that are going the same towards the same destination.
Okay,
So
good,
we-
because a lot of the downtown restaurants have meal plans that kind of coincide with production at the Smith Center.
Okay,
particularly. That's good to know. Then the second question has to do with safety. Did I miss a discussion on safety for the riders? I've ridden in these kinds of vehicles before downtown. Makes me a little nervous. The tube steel is fine, holding the vehicle together, but the people are pretty vulnerable to a side impact, probably any impact. How are we going to protect them? I assume they have seat belts, mandatory seat belts in there?
There's 3-point seatbelts.
3-point seat belts.
Yeah, 3-point seatbelts. We also there's aftermarket doors that go on the vehicles. So there's a little bit of, usually they come purchased as opened air. So it's completely open on either side. And then we install bent, molded aluminum brazed posts and doors on the outside as well. So they have a little bit of a safety barrier as far as falling out of the car, pushing open, or putting arms outside of the car.
Who's responsible for compensating or helping people heal from injuries sustained? And I'm not sure who's at fault. Let's just say, what kind of insurance do you have to make sure that that happens?
So we'll be operating as a private entity. The liability is on us, and it's for us to insure as well. We have multi-million-dollar coverages for auto, umbrellas, CGLs. In the contract is what we're required. That's kind of what we have in every location, so it's a good place to start. The liability will be on us as the vehicle owner, the operator.
Are we named as additional insured in the contract?
Yes, exactly.
All right, how much
You'll have
is-
endorsements put into the city's name.
Okay, and sufficient amount of money on the policy?
Yes.
Based upon experience elsewhere?
Yes, it's also, Las Vegas will be a different entity than any of our other operations for that reason as well. So if something happens in San Diego, it has no connection, or Las Vegas won't have any liability whatsoever. So that's kind of the first form of protection in total, and then it comes down to the area. But
Well, we have a history of idiot drivers in this town, and so, you know, some of them are really, really bad, and so I hate to think, well, I guess somebody will get hit somewhere along the line as it happens, but the colors of the vehicles, you know, and how visible they are helps a lot.
It does.
If you're wrapped in black or a dark blue, they're not going to be very visible. So there has to be some additional lighting and or warning of some kind.
yeah, so they're fully street legal, so they come with all the proper safety lights, turn signals, brake lights. They are very noticeable vehicles, to your point, so they tend to be seen and gawked at more than unseen and hit. We have a, knock on wood here, a great safety record. They also are low-speed vehicles, so they operate only on lower-speed roads, which greatly reduces any chance of serious injury or fatality. It also, we go through rigorous training and ongoing training programs with our drivers. We're very much never in a rush to go somewhere. It's a very safe program that is insured and taken care of if anything does happen, but we also do our best to make sure nothing will happen.
As long as they do not assume that it is safe to cross any street at any given time.
Exactly.
Yeah, even with a green light.
That's
Okay,
true.
thank you.
It's very true.
A follow-up question to that from Councilman Coffin, and prompted another thought. If one can flag the ride down, will one have an ability to get off sooner than a stop as well? So is it a stop-and-go program?
Yes, and that's kind of where we have to balance the fixed stops with the on-demand service. A lot of times it is more efficient to have people jump on and off, so they're not going through stops or needlessly in the car, or taking longer than it needs to be. So that's something we juggle. It is a hop-on, hop-off service as long as the driver has a safe and legal spot to pull over. Again, this is kind of everything we've spoken about, the efficiency of this program and the flexibility of it. It's a smart system. It learns on itself. The data we collect will only make it more efficient and also not only drive down total cost, but also increase service to anybody and everybody who's downtown.
Right.
One last thing is we do have an ADA conversion, and we'll have an ADA accessible vehicle as one of the 6. One side of it will have doors, but that actually is required by ADA accessibility to have a barrier on one side. You'll see this back fence on the far side of the vehicle there will actually be a set of those doors that we put on the rest of the cars. But this side we're facing will be totally open with a ADA accessible ramp.
Wonderful. Councilman Barlow again?
Yes. Back to the marketing and promotion, the advertising. Will you have televisions, LCD television screens, different things like that on the vehicle? And if so, how will you monitor that from an NDOT standpoint as for visibility and blinding vehicles that are on the roadway, specifically in the late evening?
Yes. Nothing on the exterior of the vehicle will be an LED or moving display. We've dealt with that in a lot of markets. It's a very questionable area because of the safety of other cars on the road. So in the inside of the vehicle, and we don't have a good picture of it here, there's a brochure rack that goes on the top ceiling of the car with an iPad. And that's a lot of what we like to call kind of a mobile chamber of commerce, where somebody gets in the car, they're looking for a good place to eat, they see, that's where you can advertise and sponsor and have a commercial run about your business, be asked to be dropped off right at the front door. On the exterior, the cars are actually wrapped. So this, going back, it's improved quite a bit from here, but they're actually interchangeable panels, so we can pop them on and pop them off. It's for many reasons, but we can throw certain branding on for certain shorter events, and then back to a default branding if it's not sponsored, anything like that. But it's a static printed image on the exterior of the vehicles.
Could you also, what do you have in inclement weather? Do you just have things that flop down? I mean, we don't have weather even like San Diego,
Yeah.
which has some big rains. Or do you stop service?
We have an option for roll-up windows on some new factory doors. We could outfit the vehicles here with roll-up windows for colder weather.
But not, I was just thinking something running along the roof where you could just drop down canvas.
That's an option as well.
With grommets, much
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah.
We've done
because-
smaller extensions that don't go farther than the rear view, side view mirrors, that actually just shield, because it has a full roof on it, so it's pretty dry. It's just kind of the one arm or the other.
When we get rain, we get rain.
Oh, yeah.
But that doesn't mean our conventions stop. And then too, we do, which I'm sure you already know, we get fierce winds.
Right.
And so to protect the rider, our open-air buses, the London buses, they have issues, of course, in the bad weather. So just knowing as you come in to prepare for us,
Right.
that you have something, because the ridership will have to continue to be very depressed if it doesn't.
Yeah. No, we'll make sure we have a few options, so we'll make sure we install one of them.
Well, and looking at something that's less costly for you too, the grommets like they do on boats,
Yeah.
yachts or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
And that was all we had, unless we have any more.
Wonderful. Well, we're very excited. Ms. Fartwell, what would you like us to do?
Well, I think we're ready for you all to make a motion. I mean, obviously, staff's recommending approval of this contract. We've got a lot of work to do before we roll it out. And so it'd be great to get started now so we can be ready to have service in place early next year.
And this is, how long a contract is this?
It's a 2-year not-to-exceed contract.
Okay.
Your Honor,
I hear you. I see you.
can I ask some questions?
Please.
So going over Exhibit B, which is the financial terms of the document, and it looks like when net advertising revenue hits $867,000 or so, we will have received back in our share what we have paid in. What happens to the next dollar?
It keeps coming.
It's 60/40, even if it
Even
exceeds
if it
the
exceeds its
city's
cost.
initial payment out?
Yes.
The net advertising revenue definition essentially allows you to create, say, a marketing firm that goes out to find advertisers for a 50% commission. And because it's an affiliate and it's a commission, it would come off the top.
Yeah.
Is that addressed anywhere else in a contract, to put reasonable limits on commissions and things like that?
I don't believe so. We actually, the free ride itself, it's the company that controls the advertising sales of these cars. The problem with this service is it's completely free, so it's entirely funded. In this case, obviously, the city is contributing. It's entirely funded by sponsorship. So going to a traditional media shop or advertising agency, they will charge those 30 to 60% commissions. So
Some
we
15
actually
if you
sell.
shop.
What's that?
Some 15 if you shop.
Yeah, some. We haven't found one yet, I wish. So we actually we have our own media arm that does this with certain commission structures that ensure that we're able to run the underlying businesses.
And so that would be a reduction of advertising revenue before we get to the 60/40.
That's before it even gets to
So I
the
think you're telling
entity
me
down
there's
here.
nothing in the contract addressing the reasonableness of those commissions?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay.
But we can post those commissions and have those, we have a set commission structure. So it's nothing we'll change as time goes on. So we can submit that. It's a licensing and advertising agreement. So it's fully auditable, but, in the terms of the contract.
Is there any interest in obeying this for 2 weeks for the city to be able to explore that a little further? It's a pretty big loophole, I think. In the
Well, I'd like to add to it, too. We've done a lot of the footwork. I shouldn't say we. I have been out there a lot talking to different hotel, museum people, the premium outlets, and it's more formulaic. So I appreciate your comments to this. And maybe it's additional advertising, and maybe there's something different that could be worked out initially. I think that's a good point, because these are already in place, and that's where this all generated from, or from which it all generated, was because we have this cluster of premium outlets. We have Symphony Park, and then we have the hotels, and then we have everything that I've not spoken with anybody on Fremont East Entertainment District, and perhaps Ms. Fretwell or somebody else or David has, but specifically in those cluster areas. So they're ready. So it's a good point. I don't know what the abeyance does, though, but it may hinder moving forward.
So in that commission structure, it is addressed for leads that say we aren't bringing in. So there's different commission rates for stuff like that. So it definitely would fall under that, like a warm lead that wouldn't even require a commission sometimes. But again, that is an agreement we have between the Free Ride and the entity of the Las Vegas Free Ride, which everybody here and will be able to see and go over. So.
Well, I'm comfortable, Mayor, moving forward with the items.
We have a suggestion from purchasing about how we can handle this. So before we issue a notice to proceed, we can require that there be a cap in the contract going forward. So then we don't have to stop the discussion today, but we can certainly weave it into what happens before they proceed with the contract.
Or can we, and I don't know, this is probably more legal, as we make a motion here, can we pull that piece of the contract aside for further discussion and approve all the rest of it?
We don't typically take a part out of the contract because that's important to their business model, but the way we typically have handled this in the past is that we would say, as a contingency of going forward on your notice proceed, we will have a cap in the contract on that particular provision, and then our staff will negotiate what that cap is, since it's probably not ripe to have it here. If you're uncomfortable with letting staff negotiate that contract, then you need to obey it.
I'll say you down there.
I think there are a couple of options. I think the one that Betsy just outlined is one. If you decide to go with that, you need to make that part of the motion, and then staff would negotiate that amount. It would not be subject to coming back to council for you to consider that amount. If you wanted to consider that amount and wanted to have some say-so and the ultimate control, you need to hold it in abeyance so that we can negotiate it, bring it back to you with that number. I think those are the two options.
Okay.
I think, Mayor, I think I can make a motion to frame what Ms. Fretwell had indicated, that we do allow staff to negotiate that, and I would include Councilman Beers' comments and suggestions as you move forward with that, Ms. Fretwell.
We're happy to do that if that's what council prefers.
As I'm looking at it right now as well, and I don't think you guys have a problem with that moving forward with this portion of it, and then negotiating that issue as we go on. So I'm prepared to make motions, Mayor.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
Your Honor, I'd much more prefer the abeyance option, so I'll be voting no on this one. I think giving it 2 weeks does not hurt anybody or anything,
2
and
weeks.
it's a pretty important point. It's a pretty gaping loophole, in my opinion.
2 weeks, would put us when? To the 16th?
It puts us on your giant council agenda on the 16th. Just, there's a lot going on that meeting. If you're more comfortable waiting 2 weeks, we'll wait 2 weeks. It's up to you.
You know,
We'll do whatever you want.
I mean, I think what I'm feeling here is everybody's very enthusiastic. This is wonderful. But because we are talking about as far as the fixed route, not the other, that those pieces are so close to being there already. So I tend to concern myself that, not that you wouldn't get the income from it and that it wouldn't be split, but that you also get a commission from work, that this is a no-brainer, because these are the people that want it. I mean, they want, the hotels want the business. And I mean, it's almost like one of you could pick up the phone call, follow up and say, hello, Mr. Jones, I understand you want to get in on this fixed route or the other on call. And so I'm here to tell you, here's the price for this, this, and this. So maybe, what does it do to you if we obey it? It is a long meeting we have that day. I mean, we're prepared to be going here until the nighttime.
Yeah, and I see the concern. I hate to
Okay.
push back a full mobility option contract because of that piece. The reason we created a media arm is so that we ensure that the underlying transportation options successfully run. Most of these commissions that we speak about that get paid as advertising coming are around 10%. So it's the job of the entity in Las Vegas to make sure they operate successfully. And that's what we're being, as the vendor,
I
hired to
don't
do.
question your integrity, efficacy, anything, and that has nothing to do with it. So just wait to
Yeah,
hear
I'm
from
just getting at that it will be easy, I think, to
I mean, we're just,
negotiate
you
that.
know, we're different. This is a different place than any other. So, Councilman Beers?
I would suggest if we obey that we only hear the financial piece when we do take this back up. I think everyone has heard the conceptual piece in support of the concept.
Yeah.
It's just that the financial piece is very undefined the way this contract
agree
is
with you.
drafted right now.
Yeah.
Or just staff. I mean, it's almost more, it could be fine, I don't know, but the way the contract
agree.
is written,
Yeah, I agree.
we just can't tell.
But I'd like it brought back.
But if we do bring it back, and if we do obey it, let's just only hear that component when we
Okay.
do hear it again, rather than go through the whole presentation.
Well, Mayor, with that, I'll ask Mr. Steed or Mr. Jervik, can we move forward with approving these minus that financial portion of it to be brought back to us? And Councilman Beers, would you like it at a council meeting, or would you just like it in briefings? Through the mayor, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just voice my opinion. This Exhibit B is integral to the contract. I think you either need to get staff permission to negotiate the problem out, and you don't get to see how that negotiate. You get a report, but you don't get to vote on it later on, or you obey it for 2 weeks and let us fix it.
Okay. And I guess, Mayor, if I can refer my question to Ms. Fretwell about the pros and cons of us obeying this for 2 weeks, Ms. Fretwell?
Well, the only thing that this impacts is our ability to get the system up and running. So, you know, we had actually talked about this. We're trying to get this up and running in February, so it'll be later in February or March. So I don't want to put us at a disadvantage if this is not answered sufficiently in the contract, which is being represented to me as a 50% cap. Councilman Beers says that it's not clear in the contract that there's a 50% cap. So, you know, we can weave it into the notice to proceed, and if it is not clear, then we can bring the whole contract back to you. So there's a way to keep moving administratively. I just don't know that you're comfortable. I agree with Brad. I think it's problematic to bring a portion of a contract back later because it could, you know, it's all intertwined. So as uncomfortable as it is, you know, my feeling is if you're uncomfortable not having the answer to that question clearly on the record today, which can you answer it, Matt? So we're going to have to go back through the contract. So I'd recommend a 2-week abeyance.
Thank you, Ms. Farwell. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
With that, I would make a motion to obey agenda items 29 and 30 for 2 weeks to the November.
Just number 30.
Just
29
number
is just a report.
All right, I make, number 29 is a report. Make a motion to approve, accept that report on 29. That's my motion.
Accept 29. There's a motion to accept 29.
Okay, no motion on 29.
Okay.
Move to obey agenda item 30 for 2 weeks to our November 16th meeting, 2016. That's the motion.
Okay, there's a motion to obey on agenda item 30. Please vote. And can you, since they're traveling from not the rest of the agenda, I don't know what's on that, can we put it early?
Well, what we can do is, if you would like, instead of putting it on the business, the reason why we put it on the business agenda today is because it was related to the report, and it seems like there's, a lot of excitement about this. We could just put this on consent and not request them to come back unless there's a dispute. So if that's okay with you, we'll just put it on consent once we get the clarification we need on the cap, and then we'll go from there.
And then share that with the council. We'll move forward.
Oh, yeah, well, we'll brief you.
Okay.
Of course, we'll be briefing you before we start, but we'll get that cleaned up and clarified in the language before we bring the contract back.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So the motion has been voted. Please post. Motion carries. So we're very excited. Thank you, Mr. Bowers. Thank you. Both of you are looking forward to this. It's really exciting.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, now we move on to agenda item 31. Okay, discussion for possible action regarding the approval of appeal of a work card denial for Brandon Booker, DB, Las Vegas Country Saloon, 425 Fremont Street, Suite 220, Ward 3, with Councilman Coffin. And good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. For the record, Karen Duddleston, Deputy Planning Director, representing business licensing today. Before you is a work card appeal. In your confidential memo that was distributed to the council, the Metro report details the nature of the infraction involved here, the recency of the parole, as well as a violation of that parole, and the appeal that was made to business licensing for your consideration, and the fact that Metro was not able to substantiate the reasons that were given for that appeal. Staff recommends denial at this time. Although it is obviously the burden of the applicant to appear before you and to show why he should be given a work card at this point in time. So if the applicant is here, he may want to speak to you personally as well as his employer.
Thank you very much. And the applicant is coming forward, I hope. And the employer as well, or no?
Yes, I'm the employer.
Yes, please. And if you'll be sure to give us your name.
Yes, my name is James Hensley. I'm Brandon Booker.
How are you?
Good morning. I'd like to speak on Brandon's behalf. He's kind of an ambassador out in front of Hennessy's Tavern for us for the last 2 years. He brings in the public so that we can have, he plays a role as a host. And he knows all the marshals, all the security guards there. He does a wonderful job for us. I would like to promote him to a bartender, and we were stopped because of the action.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rookwood, do you want to say anything also, please?
Yes, I've worked for him for a good 2 years, and he's actually known me before. And I respect everything about the company, and he actually called me and gave me this job. So he knows everything about me. He's known me for years to afford the job. So
Right.
I really want to bring more business and help him continue being successful in this company.
Thank you. Any questions by council? All right, Councilman Coffin.
I do have questions, and of course there might be others. Let me ask you, Brandon, I'm somewhat familiar with intoxication issues and family. I understand a lot how this works. There is a possibility, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt on the issue of whether or not you knew for sure what would be a probation violation. It wasn't simply completing some time, but you were arrested during that time, or you were cited during that time, I think. So it causes a problem for you. That's why staff is recommending denial.
Okay.
So let me ask you a couple of questions without having, you don't have to reveal a lot about your personal life, but I do need to know this. What fellowship group do you belong to?
What fellowship?
Yes, sir.
As in, what fellowship group do I belong in?
For those people who consume drugs, I'm going to assume, and it's not going to, this is not going to harm you in any way, but I'm going to assume that times you've been caught using are not the only times you've used. It would make sense that if a person uses, they're going to use more than once or twice. So are you aware of any kind of fellowships, 12-step groups or anything like that?
Yes, I completed a program through my probation.
You completed a program through probation?
Basically staying sober and...
The atmosphere where you're working is stimulating. It's very, very stimulating.
Yes, I totally
It is not your average neighborhood bar.
Exactly.
There's stuff happening there, and it's all around you, and it is naturally going to hit your pleasure centers, and you're going to want to stimulate yourself. And so this is a real risk that you're working around downtown. Yes. You have to understand that. You need reinforcement. You know, once you use, you are subject to always using, and you can't be so arrogant as to think that you are invulnerable from this.
Okay.
I don't want to give you a lecture, but I want to find out what you know about yourself.
Yes.
And it sounds like you haven't realized that yet. And I'm not saying that it would be a condition of mine at all. That's putting my own personal moral stature on you, because I have used drugs too in my life as well. So I am not the Virgin Mary when it comes to behavior.
Yes, sir.
But I do know the risks that are involved, and I do know the kinds of things that a person should do when they recognize that they use drugs. Do you have a sponsor?
A sponsor?
Yes, sir.
I've
Okay, Brandon, you are not at all familiar then with fellowship. You are not at all familiar with what needs to happen to someone who uses. And it is because of your temptations and the fact that you're in an environment that is not just serving, could be serving, but also around all those others who are enjoying and serving, and they're enjoying that kind of fellowship and that kind of excitement. And you got the music bombarding you, and you can be extra vulnerable. You need to have additional reinforcement for yourself. I'm going to suggest, Your Honor, and I don't know if let's just discuss this with licensing and with you, Mr. Hensley. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about, sponsorship and fellowship?
Yes.
Can we give this man a chance by permitting a certain time, let's say 6 months or a year, site-specific? I know you're talking about a one-year review here. I'm talking about 6 months in my own mind for Brandon. Site-specific, meaning only at this location. And additional, I will look upon it in 6 months as having been something that maybe you could take advice. Maybe I could not take advice at your age, but let's say you can, of hooking up with a fellowship group and understanding about this, because it'll make you a better bartender as well. This goes beyond tab and training. It goes into the issue of how can you, tab training, how can you go in to look at others and see what kind of help they need, even though they don't think they do. It's very important. This is not intrusive on my part. This is simply advisory. But it would be something I will ask you about in 6 months if the council agrees with me on a 6-month review at this site-specific location. When it's time to make a motion, unless I'm changed by other comments, I certainly would propose that. Would you be agreeable to that? If
Yes, I definitely agree.
Yeah, understand how you take care of yourself is your business.
Yes, sir.
But I strongly advise you to follow up on the things that I have mentioned here as a way to help you and help your patrons, Mr. Hensley, as well. You understand?
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. I mean, the only thing I would add to that, I think, as Councilman said, it's just a suggestion. It's not specific. He's going to be recommending for 6 months review. I think that you found him to be such a great employee that you're wanting to move him to even a stronger position in the business. I think it's great, and we all, look, there's nobody that's pure as the driven snow anyway. So the reality is, though, that you've been working for this gentleman for 2 years and doing a good job, and he knows you know everybody, and that's, you know, that is in itself a talent. and to know who the people are that you're dealing with. It's great for business, and in fact, with a younger generation coming in, that used to be the key to Las Vegas, that your head people at the door could say, "Hi, Mr. Jones, welcome back," and those things, and it sounds like Mr. Booker does that. So I think he sounds like a great employee, and I'm hopeful that you are going to move and that it is your suggestion that he get the support, which always helps, but not that it's conditional to getting that support.
Mayor?
So, yes, Councilman Barlow, and then down here.
Mayor, you know, one thing that I've always looked at when it comes down to the work card appeals over the years is the fact that we have employers such as Mr. Henley coming and speaking on behalf of those that they want to work within their establishment, right? And to me, that holds a lot of weight. The fact that Mr. Hensley is here speaking on behalf of someone who he wants to work for him, I take that as a plus, a huge plus. And so for the fact that Mr. Hensley is here speaking on behalf of Mr. Booker, and he's been knowing him for quite some time and respect him enough to stand before this body, I believe that the onus is on Mr. Hensley to manage his business the way in which he's been managing his business, because he's not in business to go down or allow anyone to take his business down. And so for that, I fully support Mr. Booker because of his employer standing here vouching for him. And so placing any added conditions is something that I don't see necessary, because Mr. Hensley is running an operative business in the city of Las Vegas and supporting a candidate that he wants to elevate. And so for that, I fully support Mr. Booker and moving forward without any conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Back to you, Councilman Coffin. I think
Thank you, ma'am.
everybody down
I think
here
one of the
is
reasons I wanted to just make sure it's understood, particularly by Mr. Hensley, that one of the offenses was selling. That puts an onus on you, Mr. Hensley, that if you employ a person who had a selling arrest, then you have a situation where it now becomes on you too, that this is your business. You're employing a person who you knew not only was a user, but perhaps was a seller. So for that reason, I think you should welcome any conditions that we put on.
Oh, yeah.
Again, do you agree?
No, I do agree. I think that people make mistakes, and watching Brandon go through the process, I think he jumped over every obstacle that was put before him. He actually finished before his probation time period was due, and like I said, working out front, he's worth his world in gold. I mean, his weight in gold. He just really is a great ambassador for us, and he stands out on Fremont Street in front of Hennessy's Tavern and really brings the people. And I think if you talk to some of the marshals that walk around our Fremont Street experience, they all know him by name, and they all speak very highly of him. And I really think that he's learned from his mistakes, and he's somebody that's really going to benefit us upstairs and make us a better company.
Thank you, Your Honor. In the spirit of sportsmanship here, I certainly will approve, and I'm going to move for that approval. Understand that I'm still recovering from a broken back suffered at the hands of a drunk driver. So I guess you could say that I have an interest in everybody's welfare in this. So therefore, I do move for approval.
Excuse me 1 second, Councilman. Mayor Pro Tem had a comment or a question? Or
I just want to say this. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilman, if you'd indulge me for a moment. Mr. Booker, congratulations, and good for you. And stay strong and keep pointing in the right direction, because this is a golden opportunity for you to do that. So we're proud of you for overcoming your challenges. That's what forgiveness is all about. So congratulations. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for approval with a site-specific license as well as a 6-month review. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve on agenda item 31 with conditions. Please vote and please post. Unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 32, boards and commissions for possible action. Senior Citizens Advisory Board, Mary Ellen Heiss, term expiration 6-, 2019, who resigned. Ms. High served one of the mayor's appointees to the board and has resigned. Procedures for this board is a recommendation by the appropriate member of council with the approval of council. The options are Mayor Goodman to name a replacement to the board, and I make the motion to approve Yvette Weinstein Hall. And that's my motion.
Okay.
Please vote.
Your Honor, is it appropriate, if I may speak, is it appropriate to commend the outgoing member at the same time in the same motion and thank Ms. Heiss for her service, or is that a separate motion?
I think you can include it. Can he include it in this? Yes, please do.
Okay, then I hope that we will add in the motion the sense of the council of a gratitude for Ms. Heiss.
Yeah, she had some wonderful, wonderful efforts and really loved her seniors and loved what she was doing.
She worked very, very hard.
Yep.
And got a lot of things going.
And now with Councilman Beers, the other council people too, so I know. And hopefully Mrs. Hall will enjoy that too, who really comes with some great background, loves to volunteer, and we're looking forward to having her.
And as we go to the vote, Mayor, I just want to say that Ms. Mary Ellen Heiss has done a wonderful job for the city of Las Vegas, representing all seniors throughout the city of Las Vegas, and I really want to thank her so very much for her community service to this community.
Thank you very much. I will make note. Hopefully my staff will take down the information made by council so we can let Ms. Heiss know that she was really appreciated. So did we post? We posted and we passed, so wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks for...
Thank you for your comments, all of you. Okay, agenda item, yes? Not yet here?
If I thought you had trailed it to the last meeting, but I may have misunderstood what you said. To the end of the meeting, right?
You would rather have it
So I
there?
think, well, I'd love to take it now, except that we have to make an amendment to the PowerPoint. Are we ready? We're not quite ready.
Okay, so
So maybe we
on
could take the
go.
ordinances and,
Okay, so we'll just move on with agenda item. We are on 33. Bill number 2016-50. Councilman Barlow, would you like the bill read?
Yes, Mayor, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Councilman. Bill number 2016-50, First Amendment, an ordinance regarding the use of non-motorized vehicles on city streets, including animal-drawn vehicles, by amending LVMC Title VI to add a new section to provide business licensing regulations for the use of pedicabs and pedal buses, by amending LVMC 11.39 to revise and clarify the rules and regulations for pedicabs and pedal buses, by amending LVMC 6.44 for horse-drawn carriages, and by amending LVMC 11.02 to clarify where such vehicles may operate and providing for other related matters.
Move for approval, First Amendment.
Thank you. On agenda item 33, move for approval with the First Amendment. Please vote and please post. Motion carries. Agenda item 34, Bill 2016-56. Councilman, would you like the bill read?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you,
Please.
Councilman. Bill number 2016-56, in order to extend the boundaries of the city, to particularly describe land to be annexed, and to make its inhabitants subject to laws, obligations, and benefits of the city, and to provide for other related matters.
Move for approval.
Thank you. This motion on agenda item 34 to approve. Please vote and please post. Motion carries. Recommending committee bills eligible for adoption at a later meeting. Items 35 to 40, bills number 2016-57 and 2016-58, 2016-64, and 2016-66 through 2016-68 will be heard at a later meeting. We'll move on to new bills. New bills. Items 41, whoops. Yep, that's okay. 41 and 42, bills number 2016-69, 2016-70 will be heard at recommending committee Monday, November 14th, 2016. City Attorney, would you please read the new bills?
On behalf of Your Honor, Bill number 2016-69, ordinance providing for the issuance to the City of Las Vegas of its general obligation, limited tax, medium-term, various purpose bonds, Series 2016D, and the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $40 million for the purpose of acquiring, constructing, improving, and equipping recreational projects and refunding certain outstanding obligations, providing details concerning the bonds, the project and general tax proceeds, and providing other matters relating thereto. And finally, Bill number 2016-70, an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Code to adjust the locational restrictions pertaining to nightclub use and provide for related matters.
Thank you very much. New bills are assigned to the recommending committee members, Councilman Barlow, Anthony, and Coffin. If any so designated are unable to attend, the clerk's office will coordinate finding substitutes as necessary at my direction. Thank you. Now turn the meeting over to Mayor Pro Tem. Item 43 was obeyed. I must abstain from voting on item 44 as it pertains to medical marijuana, and one of my sons is involved in that industry.
I don't have a 44 in my book.
I do. You may have mine.
Just throw it at me.
Throw it. Okay.
Here I go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Agenda item 44 is an EOT 66836. It is Acres Medical LLC, owner 2320 Western LLC, for possible action on a request for an extension of time of an approved special use permit, SUP 55190, for proposed medical marijuana production facility at 2320 Western Avenue. It is Zone M Industrial. It is in Councilman Coffin's Ward 3. Staff recommends approval subject to conditions. This is not a public hearing. And is the applicant present? Yes, he is. Mr. Perrigo, we'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Everything's in order, and staff is recommending approval.
Very well. Applicant, any input? State your name for the record, please.
Brian Hardy with the law firm of Marquis Arbach Coughing on behalf of the applicant, and we appreciate staff's wonderful work in this matter, and we hope we get approval. Thank you.
Mr. Hardy. Councilman Coffin.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm going to move for approval of item 44.
There's a motion for approval of agenda item 44.
44, following staff recommendation.
Vote and post. And that motion passes with the mayor's abstention.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes, Councilman, do you want to be included?
Yes, Mayor, if you don't mind, to the city clerk, please place me down as a yes on item 44. Thank you.
Thank you.
I used to get my tires to my truck changed there. Good year.
Good year.
For hundreds of years.
I'm sorry, that was item 44. Okay, thank you.
Okay, agenda items 45 and 46 have been withdrawn without prejudice. Or on to 47, ZON 64861, a request for rezoning from P-O professional office to R3, medium density residential on .16 acres at 519 South 8th. Agenda item 48, VAR 64862, and a request for variance to allow a 3-foot rear yard setback where 20 feet is required, 3-foot side yard setback where 5 feet is required for an existing dwelling unit, and a 0-foot side yard setback for an existing accessory structure, Class 2 shed, where 5 feet is required. 49 VAR 64864, and a request for variance to allow 3 parking spaces where 5 spaces is the minimum required. The applicant owner is Nida Quitorio and Buddy N. Quitorio at 519 South 8th, PO, professional office zone, proposed R3 medium density residential. The Planning Commission and staff recommend denial on all 3 items. These are in Ward 3 with Councilman Coffin, and our public hearings, which I now declare open. Is the applicant or representative present?
Mayor Brian Hardy with the law firm of Marquis Arbach Coughing on behalf of the applicant. I have with me the applicant, Buddy himself. So,
thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Perrigo.
Thank you, Your Honor. The subject site contains 3 residential units. 2 were approved previously through a use variance and therefore are legally non-conforming. 1 was converted from a former storage shed without building permits or inspections. The applicant is requesting to rezone from PO to R3, which is medium density residential. and will accommodate the proposed density. Variances are required as a third residential unit, and a more recently constructed accessory structure do not meet the required rear and side yard setbacks. The residential unit did not meet required setbacks for an accessory structure at the time of construction. A variance for parking is also needed as the applicant is not providing the 2 parking spaces required for the third residential unit. The rezoning is not appropriate for an area that has predominantly converted from single-family residential units to commercial properties. The proposed rezoning to R3 and the corresponding increase in the density allowed is not compatible with the surrounding uses. The requested variances indicate the site is overbuilt and cannot accommodate the increased density of the development. Staff recommends denial of all applications.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to be heard? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public comment. And Councilman Coffin, how say you on 47? Or do you want to address them all together?
I'd like to hear, Your Honor, from the owner and from his representative on what they have done since we last talked about this. We had a meeting earlier in the year, and the area did not look well. Understanding, of course, that I think we do need more beds in the area. The question becomes is, well, what kind of place is it going to be? It didn't look very well when our staff was by. My staff, my Ward 3 staff, has driven by and seems to feel that there is an improvement in the area. If that is the case, then it needs to be continued to be clean and approval. You've got about a 50-50 break on the protests versus the support. So, you know, it's not unanimous over there, but not everybody wants to condemn you. You've made some changes. Would you illustrate those, please?
Absolutely. Councilman Coffin, one of the things I would like to read is what was actually stated in one of the cards that was sent in support. I think it's critical what the neighbors are actually thinking about this. And one of them said, having neighbors who live here is beneficial given the continuous problem we have with homeless and limited police. I believe current zoning was incorrectly implemented by a person who did not own property by mistake, whom others were properties were not belonged by him. The issue here is not the ending part, how it was taken and what their belief is. The issue here is these people want more individuals living down there. There's a benefit to having residences in this area. By having residential portion of this, and it's not a new concept in the area. I have pulled up what was the staff put out the subject property. If I can get it on the overhead, I can show you. If you look, you'll see this was actually as part of the documentation provided by staff. All of the highlighted ones are all residential units that are in and around the area. So while I understand there's a number of businesses that this residential area was transitioned into, there are still a number of people that live down here. This is their home. This is where they live, and they want to have more individuals living down there so that they can go ahead and have the community and the sense of community that they would like with safety issues that can be there. And we would like to be able to accommodate that. This is what we're trying to do. This is an owner who has previously rented this property out, but now wants to move in. That's why we're trying to go from what is essentially an R2 to an R3. Because he wants to come down and actually live here. He's going to sell his home, he's going to retire and live here, along with the other 2 tenants that he currently has that are there. So that's what the conversion has been for. He's going to be an on-site owner to make sure things are taken care of and upkept. And in fact, some of the things that he's done, this is one of the pictures that was actually provided by staff, and you can see how dark the front looks. And it looks like it was almost someplace you wouldn't want to go visit. And since that time, we've opened up the front of it. He's making it an inviting place where you can have and talk and meet with people. He's gone ahead and put all these nice painting. He's painted it. He's cleaned it up. The entire front yard is looking good. It has a nice walkway here. One of the concerns was that it may look, with all it being boarded up, it may be someplace that somebody could hide or that there could be other things. By opening it up, it's inviting to him and to his neighbors and those who live down there. You'll meet Buddy, and Buddy is a community-minded individual. He wants to be friendly with his neighbors. He wants to associate with them. And that's what he's done here, is he's really opened up his home to those type of improvements. You see the painting, he's painted it a lighter color. He's opened up the area. Not only that, I'll show you these. One of the issues that has been raised by staff was parking. Well, there's enough parking here, but what we aren't allowed to do is do tandem parking. And so you can see this long driveway that allows to have tandem parking in place, although that's not permitted under the code. So when they say there may not be enough parking or people are going to overflow onto the street, really isn't true in the effect that these guys will tandem park right there and be able to keep the parking off of the road. The other one that I'd like to show you as well, some of the concerns that had been raised previously were related to this unit that was in the back. And this is one of the staff pictures that they had taken of that, and you can see how the electrical was kind of hodgepodged in there. We went and hired electricians that have gone through, and they've now made sure that this entire building is all compliant. We've gone ahead and brought it up to code, exactly what was needed to be done. We've worked with all those type of things. So you can see everything is safe, everything is taken care of for these residents. Okay? The final thing that was of concern, particularly when we were dealing with the Planning Commission, was that they didn't like the back. It looked kind of torn down. It had this old car that was back there. Buddy wanted to make sure that nobody had any issues with that, has gone through and made sure that that old car that was back there that's part of a restoration project, people that are retired like to have things to work on. And so he was, as a part of that, he's made sure it's covered up and that it's all been cleaned up. The entire back area has been cleaned up so that it's not an eyesore. This is an individual who wants to be able to utilize this property to its fullest extent. And that's all we're asking for. Let us utilize this property to the fullest extent possible. Thank
What
you.
is the maximum number of people that can reside if the designation is changed? And I'm assuming when you answer that, you're going to be talking about adults, not children?
It would be 4 unrelated, and then if they are related, it could be more per unit.
And how about that's adults, majority, or does that include children too?
That includes, I guess it would be unusual to have children living there unrelated to anybody else, but you can have 4 unrelated individuals, and then if they are related family members, you can have more. I'm not sure what that total number would be. It's a little awkward. Usually we've got all our stuff right there. We can look things up quickly. But just a minute, please.
What happened over there? Everything's down?
No, we transitioned so quickly that communications was still there. And so when you started this item, they were still there. So we just kind of posted
Yay
up
for
here.
laptops. So total number, I mean, if they're related and then they each have 2 or 3 children, could there be many as 8 or 10 or 12 in the building with little people? Mr. Kitoria, are the other people that are planned for in the building, if the zoning changes, are they non-family? Are they other people with children? Are they family with children? What is there currently, and what are they asking for?
They're non-family. Neither of them have children. What you'll see is, and I can show you what the property looks like.
So it's a rental situation?
It's a rental situation.
Okay.
The property, the house itself is a duplex. So it already has those 2 places already divided, and that's already been approved. And so we have a couple that resides in one duplex. The other duplex is what we're currently working to convert. He's currently cleaning up and making sure that's where he'll reside after his retirement happens. The other location is a pool house that was in the back that has been converted into a studio apartment. And there's a single individual that works down there, and she resides in the back there in the pool house that's been converted.
So the total currently on the property, or as planned, is how many?
Currently, there's 3. There will be 5 eventually, because him and his wife will move into that other apartment as soon as it's completed.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, there was one picture of a lot of junk in the backyard, and you didn't show that when you went through them. I'm assuming that has been cleared away.
One of those pictures, and the picture that Councilwoman Tarkanian that you were referring to, has a bunch of, like you see in the backyard, you see washers and dryers and things like that. If you look through the door there, you'll see all the construction equipment that's in there. They were retiling the floor when that picture was taken. And so you'll see that apartment, they pulled everything out of that apartment, and they had to, and they stored it in the backyard. You don't want it out in the front yard, because we have a gate that goes around it. So we pulled all of that outside. That's when those pictures were actually taken by staff. Since that time, we finished out that tiling, and we're moving everything back in.
Do you have that picture available?
And while this one's on, what are the yellow crosshatches on this particular slide that you show that's up?
It's on there right now.
Yeah. Do you see in the upper left corner?
Yeah, this is the picture that you had, this one right here.
Yeah, what are those yellows?
So this is the tandem parking. You'll see that there's tandem parking here and then the two stalls back there. So they require 4 parking stalls. And with the tandem parking, if it were permitted, but the city has the ordinance, but if it were permitted, we could actually still get 4 cars in there, not a problem.
Okay.
The other side of it is this is where you see, this is the home as it exists right here. And we already have approval to have this as a duplex that's divided right along this line right here. So this is one unit, this is another unit. Really what we're seeking is this unit back here to be able to add that 3rd unit, so it's R3 instead of R1 with the variance.
Okay. And then
this other one here, this is the picture that staff had shown.
No, that's not the one I meant.
But you can see they are putting
Yeah,
tiles.
You can see if you look in the door.
I can see that,
Yeah, this is the one that staff had taken. When you look in the door, you can see everything, all the construction that's going on. So we've got, cans of paint and stuff like that, because they're developing, they're building this out, they're taking care of it, they're getting it done. So it was unfortunate it was taken during construction, and they're still, finalizing things in the kitchen.
So all that's moved back in?
A majority of it is in the process of being moved back in, yeah. And it will be completed, I think, within the next 30 to 45 days. That unit will be, everything will be back in that unit.
But the other one that looked junky?
The other one?
There was another one, I thought there might have been a bike in it. It looked like the backyard. You had another picture there, and it was a whole lot of it accumulated almost in a pile.
One of the things that has been discussed is the fact that right here there was a shed. Now that shed was put up after the fact. And this shed right here, it does look, and I agree with you, it does look that way. It wasn't permitted when it was put in. It was put in before my client took ownership of the property. But that shed right now is in the process of we're cleaning all of that out, getting all that stuff out of there. He's been working through that right now. But that's what, if you're looking at the junky side of things, it was this kind of default shed that was put back there that everybody's putting things in. He's given notice, as we talked about with Councilman Coffin, that tenant has been given notice that he has to terminate all of those things out of there before the end of the year. So we've given him time to get his stuff out of there so that we can go and
That's
close
it,
that.
yeah, that's the picture right there.
Yep.
And
Yeah, so you can see that shed.
that shed looks horrible.
Yeah.
So all of that is going to be cleaned out of there? That could be a
Correct.
hazard, it even could be an attractive nuisance if any kids came through there to the alleyway.
And that's within the fenced wall anyway, so it's not visual, but you're right, just in the backyard, it does not look like it's definitely not eye appealing.
Your Honor?
No.
Yes, Councilman.
I think I'm ready to make a motion on this, and I think if Councilwoman is
No, I'm
ready.
The
reason
only
is-
question that I would have, Councilman, is I think Mr. Parago's still
I don't know if he'll ever get
researching.
an answer to the question. It's tough for them. I guess they just weren't ready. More importantly, though, I think that I think I'm prepared to accept this place as with the improvements that they have made. So I don't know what staff is going to come up with. If they're still waiting, are you waiting for an answer to a question from staff, Your Honor?
I was, but
It is. I've got a few text messages out. I can't pull up the information. It's a building question for Title 19. The only reference we have is 4 unrelated individuals. Beyond that, it depends on number of bedrooms and the size of the unit and that sort of thing. So you could assume that it's probably somewhere around 12 total, given that there would be 3 units, 4 per unit. And there may be, in the efficiency unit, a restriction that might lower that. In the 2-bedroom, you might be able to get a few more. But I think that's probably a pretty good estimate.
okay, thank you very much. Okay, Councilman Coffin, then go ahead, please. On 47?
Your Honor, before I do that, I wanted to just ask our staff, what would be appropriate, Your Honor, if I could ask staff on
Okay,
this?
Mr.
Tom
Parago, another question, please.
The question is of cleanliness here, I think, for members, orderliness. We've had a promise that it will remain orderly. It's in the process of being cleaned. Is there a condition that can be placed to, assuage the council's feeling about that, such that there be a look back in a year or 6 months?
Mr. Councilman, if I might just say that one area I was concerned about, for example, it looks as if the wall's peeling back in some place and just that there is a rather quick reinspection of it when it's finished. That's what I was talking about, Mr. Coffin.
An inspection of the safety of the wall?
Yeah, because I don't know, are those lockers going to stay there? And if you look on the side of the locker, you see it looks as if the wall's peeling away. And this was built without permission, and just to make sure that as it is fixed up, that it meets all requirements of the building.
Sure. So a couple of things. There is an active code enforcement case, so all that will have to be cleaned up, and they'll continue to inspect to make sure everything comes into compliance. In addition, for that third unit, they will have to get building permits, and that would all be inspected as well. Now, if you wanted to throw another safeguard on top of that, we could do a 6-month or 1-year administrative review, and it would trigger staff to go back out and take a look without bringing it before a public hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor, for asking that. Tom, that's an answer for me. The 6 months administrative review, primarily with appearance. We're going to see it anyway on permitting, or at least you're going to have a handle on this for the code requirements that have to be met. I need to know, if you're shaking your head no, who's listening? Okay.
Trying to make
important.
Yes, we're just trying to figure out, just talking about which item we would place that additional review on.
Let's just put a blanket review on everything.
Okay.
Do you have any problem with that?
No, I think put required review on administrative review on the variance for the parking and the variance for the setbacks, and then we would go out and look at those things and make sure everything's working okay.
Items 48 and 49.
Mr. Hardy, are you and Betty amenable to these things?
Absolutely. And
Okay,
I would
now
be
the
items
reason
48.
I just wanted to say, aesthetically, I understand the problem. Now, the fact is that over all of that is the fact that the city has made a big mistake over the years, probably the last 30 years, in chasing all the residents out of downtown. And in so doing, you're left with a bunch of law offices, and they close at 5, and so the people who roam the streets own the downtown for, 16 hours a day, 15, 16 hours a day. So having residents is a good thing. And so I like that idea. I want people to live there, and maybe they need the housing. But it is important that you look good for your neighbors. The issue of tandem parking is not so important to me because, there is a remedy for that, and that is widening the driveway. And that then allows cars to park side by side. Because you do have a problem if you can't arbitrate amongst yourselves inside a dwelling like that there are going to be arguments. But there's an easy fix to that, and that is simply add a few more feet of concrete. I don't like that. I like turf. But on the other hand, I like people being downtown and responsible people. So these things can be sorted out in the next 6 months. I think on those items, particularly 47 and 48, we would be looking at 6 months. I'm now ready to move, Your Honor. Then.
Agenda item 47. I thought that Mr. Paragos said administrative review on 48, 49.
48
or
and
do you
49.
want them on all?
Well, if it's not necessary in 47, we don't have to do that.
Okay, just 48, 49.
Yes.
Okay, so how say you on 47?
Appearance counts. I now move for approval of item 47.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve on 47. Please vote and please post. Motion carries. And on agenda item 48, please.
Your Honor, I move for approval with an additional 6 months. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just going to make very clear what that condition is, if you'd like. An administrative required review shall be conducted 6 months from the date of final approval.
Yes, that will be my motion.
Okay.
In addition to the approval.
And that's on agenda item
Item
48. So there's a motion, subject to the condition. Please vote and please post. That motion carries. And then again, that same condition on 49.
That is right, Your Honor. My motion to approve with the supplemental condition of the 6-month administrative review.
Great. There's a motion on agenda item 49, subject to that administrative review condition. Please vote and please post. Good luck. Happy retirement.
Thank you so much, Mayor and
Thank
members of the council.
Thank you.
Your Honor?
Yes.
At this time, I need to make a motion to recall agenda item 33 for legal staff to make some comments on the record. That would be my motion.
Thank you. There's a
I don't
motion
need
to
to make a motion.
recall on 33.
I don't need a motion, says the city clerk.
On 33, we are recalling.
And then we'll move on to 27 after 33.
I'll actually make a motion to rescind your vote on
Oh,
item
you
number
want to
33.
rescind the vote?
And I'll
Okay.
make a better record.
So I'll make a motion, Your Honor, to rescind the vote on agenda item 33, so Mr. Gerbert can make a better record.
Okay.
That is a motion.
Please vote on that. Motion carries, and so,
Mr. Gerbert?
Mr.
Thank you.
Gerbert.
With your permission, Your Honor, I'd like to reread the intro to this particular bill. As I read it before, it was Bill number 2016-50, First Amendment. What was just brought to my attention is that when it became a First Amendment, the title also changed. I read the old title instead of the new title, so with your permission, I would like to reread it and have you revote. With that, I would like to read Bill number 2016-50, First Amendment, an ordinance regarding the use of pedicabs and pedal buses on city streets, amending LVMC Title VI to add a new chapter to provide business licensing regulations for the use of pedicabs and pedal buses, amending LVMC 11.39 to revise and clarify the rules and regulations for pedicabs and pedal buses, and amending LVMC 11.02 to clarify where such pedicabs and pedal buses may operate and to provide further related matters. And with that, I would ask you to make a motion to approve this as First Amendment.
And, Your Honor, and with Councilman Barlow's permission, I would make a motion to approve this with First Amendment.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve on agenda item 33, First Amendment. Please vote and please post. And that motion carries. Now we're going to go back to 27. Yes, thank you. This is agenda item 27, administrative abeyance item, public hearing and discussion for possible action regarding a new 3-year contract agreement between the International Association of Firefighters, IAFF, Local 1285, and the City of Las Vegas, FY 2017 augmentation cost of $1.3 million, general fund, and we have with us Ms. Fretwell.
Hi, Mayor and members of the council. I'd like to share with you some details about this collective bargaining agreement that is before you. As you know, under NRS 288, the executive officer of the city has an obligation to report out the financial impact of any recommended collective bargaining agreement. So that's my job. But before I jump into that, I'd just like to say that I have worked on a lot of very thorny collective bargaining agreements in the many years that I've been with the City of Las Vegas. This one was a very challenging agreement to reach. And I would like to specifically thank a few people for sticking it out. One, I'd like to thank James Suarez for never giving up. I'd like to thank Todd Inglesby for pulling together a whole bunch of additional administrative things that needed to be resolved. And I'd really like to thank Angelo Aragon for displaying some incredible leadership and standing up for what his membership really needed to see in this contract, and working with the rest of the executive board, including Scott Johnson, the president, to try and get us through some very difficult things, to eliminate a lot of potential litigation that had landed us in district court, to eliminate many of the grievances that were seeing their way through the EMRB. I'd like to thank Morgan Davis and Dan Tarwater and Mike Scalzi, Mark Vincent, Orlando Sanchez, Chief Willie McDonald, and some of his team. It's really hard when you work through an impasse situation, and I'm glad to see this being resolved through a settlement here instead of through litigation. I think that speaks very highly for all those individuals to be willing to work through some really tough stuff. So with that being said, I'm happy to go through some of these financial impacts and then have Dan and Mike walk through the details of the contract. We were continuing to work through some of the administrative details this morning even, so I appreciate the reprieve to get a few more I's dotted and T's crossed this morning for the chief to get followed up on in a few business days. So I really appreciate that. And I'd also like to say thanks to all the men and women of Las Vegas Fire and Rescue. They've been waiting for this for a really long time. They perform incredibly to keep our community safe and to respond quickly and to have individuals protected. And I think sometimes they're a little unsung in what they do, and they really do a great job, and we are probably the top, if not one of the top, fire and rescue departments in this country, and it's something that's a real source of pride for me, and it's something that's continually reinforced in our citizen survey results. I know Mayor Pro Tem Ross is up there saying, we're number one, we're number one. I'm always careful because I'm sure there's a lot of other city managers that stand up and say they're number one too. I do believe that we are the best, and we continue to strive to be the best in all that we do. The point is, there are a lot of thank yous to go around. I'd like to thank you for your patience in all of this and your guidance and your feedback as we work through this contract. We have a 3-year contract for your consideration today that will create a lot of stability in the Fire and Rescue Department, and I think that's critically important. The overall 3-year impact is $11,467,000. You can see that here on the chart that's on the screen. This shows you the each year impact and how it accumulates over that 3-year period. I'm happy to step through those if you'd like for me to. But we've made some major strides in this agreement that Dan and Mike will lay out for you. One of the things that we've been talking about in many of the items today is trying to create adaptability to new demands that are placed on our city services. This contract gives some significant management flexibility and much more scheduling predictability to our employees. It allows us to have an additional scheduled shift so we can handle some of those peak load times. That's been critically important as we've taken on more of these EMS-related activities. It helps us staff right, and that's critically important as we go forward, and I'm really happy about that. We also have been able to eliminate some of our contribution to retiree medical health, which we don't do for anyone else in the organization, and this will make that a responsibility of the individual who's a part of the trust. And I think that's the right place for that to be. So I'm really happy about that. It's also a reasonable contract. It's a 2.25 COLA in each of the 3 years. And we do have some adjustments that we're doing based on some of the market as it relates to accruals on vacation, and some special pay changes that the team will walk through in a moment. But I wanted to just highlight that I think this is a really good 3-year agreement. I think it sets a very steady course for us going forward in light of the kind of business that we're doing and the kind of demands that are being placed upon us. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dan to have him give a presentation. And then I'd like, after Dan finishes, to invite Todd up and the chief, if you'd like, so that Todd can put on the record how IFF feels about that. This has been ratified by their membership. He may want to speak to that. So you're the final step in the approval process here today, and it's been a long time coming, so I'm really excited about it.
Thank you. Ms. Fretwell. Good morning.
Good morning. Dan Tarwater, Human Resources Director. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the final person, which was Betsy Fretwell. Without her participation in this specific contract, we wouldn't be here this morning presenting this to you. So we all thank her very much. Very quickly, the tentative agreement that we've laid out today, the background begins with the next slide. Total of 10 negotiations. Our first meeting was held on February 3rd of 2016. The 10th meeting was held on April 6th, and then we declared an impasse. But as you declare impasse, you can also go through additional meetings, which we did. We had 4 additional discussions after impasse was declared. And then the tentative agreement was signed August 31st which is, as you've already been told, a 3-year agreement. Next slide, which really reiterates what Betsy showed you in the begin with, which is the 3 COLA years. Year 1, 2, and 3 are all 2.25% cost of living increases, and with the attached increase or the cost of each one of those for each one of those years. And that's very similar to all of the rest of the marketplace here in Nevada. The next slide, the other economic provisions. I'd like for Mike to step up and go through some of the more details, since he was the one who helped construct those.
Mayor Goodman, members of the council, Michael Scalzi, manager, labor relations. So I'll step through the rest of the economic provisions. As Betsy indicated, we eliminated the city contribution to what we call the DAM fund. That's the retiree subsidy fund. And we were subsidizing that fund at the amount of $775,000 per year. And we agreed that we would no longer make that contribution to the fund in that manner. In addition to that, we also addressed the issue of SB 241. This is the reimbursement for union hours worked. In the IAFF agreement, they're allowed the equivalent of 1 full-time person, but it's in hours, so it's 2,880 hours, and we wanted to try to recapture that money. So in order to address those 2 particular items, what we agreed to do was roll an additional increase into the base wage in year 1, and that would serve as an offset to these 2 contributions that we were making. So we took the $775,000, we devalued it, and then we rolled the remaining amount into the base wage increase. Okay, next slide. Some additional items that we agreed to. First was the granting of additional vacation accruals. These will begin in 2017. This was...
Could I just ask, is that per year? Is it per year, 1.33 million per year? When you say additional vacation accruals?
That's 1.33 million total over the life of the agreement.
Over the 3 years. Okay, yeah. I just wasn't sure how you were doing this. Thank you.
Yeah. That item was raised, actually it's consistent with the demand that was granted to Clark County firefighters, and that's how actually the particular item originated. We agreed to do that. An increase in special pays from $120 per pay period to 10% of base wage. These are for special assignments. So when a person is placed on a special assignment, which are temporary assignments, this is the amount of increase that would be granted. The total projected cost of the 3-year agreement, as Betsy indicated, was $11.47 million. These are some of the other items that we looked at. We had tried to focus, and I believe this was at the council's request, at items that could offset overtime. Betsy talked about the first one already, peak load staffing relief, instead of us using 24-hour overtime shifts. And we agreed by side letter that we would look at that, and we would come up with different methods that would be incorporated so that we wouldn't have to use 24-hour relief shifts for overtime. So that's an item that will be given strong consideration. The approval of scheduled overtime versus callback overtime. How the overtime is called in is impactful, because when it's callback overtime, that amount of money is also PERSable. So we have to add the additional 40% onto it. So we're going to do a better job. We committed to do a better job of scheduling the overtime versus having to rely on callback overtime. That will translate to a reduction in our overtime. We agreed to increase our rover percentage from 9% to 12%, and these would be at the ranks of firefighter and firefighter paramedic, which is where we need the relief. So what this will do for us, we will have additional personnel identified as rovers that we can plug into these positions on a straight time basis versus replacing on an overtime basis. So that should also give us some overtime relief.
And Madam Mayor, if I might please, and When you say we will be able to, are you talking, who are you saying is the we? Is that the captain?
Well, it will be fire. The overall process is
But is
managed
it
by...
fire people? Is it a guy? My understanding is there was some debate at some time about who would determine if it was scheduled overtime or callback overtime, and I just wonder how that debate resolved.
There's actually state law that dictates a lot of that. But this would be something that would be through fire administration. Usually the bat chiefs are the one that are doing all the scheduling.
Okay. The last item, not really overtime related, but something that was important to us were some civil service board limitations that inhibits our ability to staff at a fast pace, and also on the promotions, there were some limitations. So we announced that we're going to take a look at making some changes to the civil service board limitations. We have the right to do that, so we made that announcement. That's really the breadth of the agreement. Are there questions that any of us can try to answer?
Council, any questions?
I just had one more, and that was, could you go back to the page just before this? Does it cost more to have a rover or less? You increased...
That is a fantastic question.
I'm glad I finally made a fantastic question.
You ask a lot of fantastic questions. There is a balance to be struck between rovers and full-time people. And as I've presented before, the way our overtime utilization was occurring, there was definitely a need for more rovers, which are permanent employees, but unassigned to a standard seat, so that we can avoid overtime costs, particularly that callback overtime, which is pretty expensive. It helps us try and keep those things in balance. We took a good hard look, Councilwoman, at the risk of getting a little too detailed. What are some of our scheduled shifts, like how many people are actually scheduled to be off every day, and how many people are actually off because they're not only scheduled to be off, but they're off because they're sick, or they're on workers' comp, or they're on some sort of training, or whatever it is. To try and get those numbers so that we have enough rovers to be able to cover those scheduled shifts, right, at least, and it'd be great to be able to get more. This gets us much closer to that, and at the same time, we're still managing very heavily the overtime budget. The chief has some pretty strict criteria about making sure that we hit that budget this year, so we don't run into that same problem we had last year, where we exceeded the budget and had to address that late in the year. So this should help us with that. And the rovers typically are new hires, and so they're coming in at a less salary level than individuals who have a lot of tenure and seniority. So there are a lot of things that work to our advantage by having these rovers, as long as we have a constant staffing criteria, which we still have in this contract.
And this was agreeable by the firefighters and our cities.
I won't steal Todd's thunder. He can tell you about how the firefighters felt about this contract. Maybe, Todd, you should step up and tell them what kind of support you guys had for this contract.
First of all, Betsy, thank you for the kind words, and council, thank you for listening to this motion. Definitely it was...
and you are, please.
Todd Inglesby, Las Vegas Fire, Vice President, Local 1285. Again, thank you for your team. It was a lot of work, but I think we did come together on a mutually agreeable package, and it does benefit our members, the men and women that make up our local, and the community and stuff that we serve. The rover percentage will help decrease overtime, and we were agreeable to that, to have extra people on the floor.
Thank you for all that you've been doing. I want you to know when Fire Chief McDonald first came to us, he didn't have any gray hair. I don't know, I can see. But this is really wonderful, and thank you for the efforts and the time, the energy. I mean, it is collaborative for sure, and Betsy, for your input. I'm going to ask for public comment before we go back to council for questions, or would you like to make some comment, Chief, as well, please?
Mayor Goodman, members of the council, Willie McDonald, the city's fire chief. Mayor, I agree with Betsy as well as Mayor Pro Tem Ross. Las Vegas Fire and Rescue is not a good fire department. It's not a very good fire department. It's a great fire department, and it is the greatest fire department. Our men and women are very dedicated, very hardworking. They love serving this community, and they love serving our residents, and they work every day to find ways to better improve the services that we provide. It's an honor to be a member of the department, and this process really has, I think, improved the relationship that we have with working with the local, and Todd in particular, and Angelo, and James, and all of the members of the executive board. So very happy to be here, and I'm very proud to be a member of the organization.
Wonderful. Well, we are so proud and so grateful, too. And please, I thought I saw Angelo in here before, but nobody's here. But this is public comment time, and there is no public to be commenting unless you're hiding behind the chairs. I'm going to close public comment. Comment from council.
I'll be the public, Mayor, if you'd like.
Okay. Well, which hat are you wearing?
I wear them both, I guess,
Okay.
right now.
Go.
All of you, congratulations, and thank you for getting to this point. Captain, I know that's been a challenge, but for the benefit of, Chief, I think the best fire department in the country. And I've seen some world competitors come to Las Vegas too, so I'm going to say the world, and I can say that because I'm the Mayor Pro Tem. But congratulations, Ms. Fretwell, and your team. I know it's been a long road, and Chief, your guidance and leadership along the way, but also the union's leadership for the benefit of its members. And I think that's the most important factor here, is the men and women that are on the floor and on each of those pieces of equipment out there saving the lives of our residents every single day. So thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you. And with that, you might as well, since you got the floor, go
Well,
for it.
I will make a motion to accept and approve agenda item 27.
Thank you very much. There's a motion on agenda item 27. Please vote and please post. Obviously, with great gratitude, unanimous. Thank you all. This is wonderful indeed. Thank you so much. Okay, we will move on to agenda item 50, and instruct the city clerk to set the public hearing dates and appeals from city planning commission meetings, dangerous buildings or nuisance litter abatements, please.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is our second citizen participation. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the city council. No subject may be acted upon by City Council unless the subject is on the agenda and scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, please come to the podium, give your name for the record, the amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. This is your opportunity to address the council, but the council is not able to respond or engage in dialogue. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak under this portion of the agenda?
Council, good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name is Anthony Casabianca. I reside at 124 South 14th Street and house council today and the mayor.
We're good. Thank you so much, and hope you are well.
Emphasize on Councilman Coffin's helping me. Unfortunately, we again with this landlord problem, we have to move again, my family. But you know, we're trying. But on your again about the drunk driver, I lost two friends 2 days ago. I mean, a couple of days ago. To a drunk driver. It was in the newspaper. Chris and he's in the body cast now, and my other friend passed on. It's just hard for us, and now we have family members at the house and friends, and now the landlord saying we have too much traffic, and now he wants to evict us. I mean, this is, you know, now we have to, my cousin had to go out and find a place now. It's terrible, you know. It's, you know, I don't know what to do. I really don't know how to, it's hard for us to live here. I mean, I had a friend from New York come in, and he liked the city. He was happy with it, and we showed him around. But the impression of the owner of the property, he wanted to know who he was and this and that. I mean, it's our business. It's who we have in our home as a guest. And, you know, it's just emphasizing. We're going through this problem with our friend passing away, and very dear girl, friend of mine, and friend, now they're, she's terrible. And like I said, I emphasize on what the councilman's going through
He's
with
got a
his back.
great staff,
And
and
then
Councilman
I went to my
Coffin will help.
doctor yesterday, and he had told me my neuropathy in my back is worse, so I just barely made it up here, and that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you for coming down. We're sorry
Yes, and
for all
I
these
understand that
hardships.
Felipe is going to stop at my residence today, if he can, if possible, because we do need someone to address these landlord problems, whatever I could do, because, I mean, we don't bother nobody. I mean, we're just home, It's like he stalked us, and, there's nothing I can do about it, It's hard.
Thank you.
Trying to live here,
Well, I
so
know
it's hard.
Felipe will continue, and Councilman Coffin will continue to help you, and hopefully, very sad about your friends that you lost.
Yeah,
We do.
it was
It's a
on, I believe it
good
was right
lesson
here,
all the
actually,
way
on Las
around.
Vegas Boulevard, right up by Hennessy's.
Terrible,
Actually,
just terrible.
Yeah.
So we we will continue to help you, and we certainly wish you, hopefully, that you will find good resolve.
Thank you,
for
Council, thank
coming.
you, Mayor, and tell Oscar I said hello.
I sure
Okay.
will. Thank you. Anyone else from the public? All right, I'm going to close public comment. We'll go on now to 52. Council member recognition. Comments made by individual council members during this portion of the agenda will not be acted upon by the council unless that subject's on the agenda scheduled for action. Councilman Beers, you go.
Thank you, Your Honor. We will be having coffee with Councilman at Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf out by Costco this Friday, 2 days away, 7:30 to 9 in the morning. And hope to see neighbors from that part of Ward 2 stopping in and letting us know what they think is going on and what the city needs to do better. Then, if coffee is too strong for you, we have cigars and beers with beers next week at La Casa Cigars and Lounge, which is the delightful place in Tivoli Village. Come by, enjoy a beverage, a cigar, and some hopefully stimulating conversation. Chat about community or city suggestions and events. And if you can't conceive stimulating conversation, I can assure you that John Baer and Vicki Skilbred will be in attendance, so you can have those kinds of discussions. The shredding event is scheduled for November 19th. This, of course, is not just restricted to Ward 2 residents. We'll be up at the Veterans Memorial Leisure Services Center from 10 o'clock in the morning until the truck is full, or we're leaving at 2 if the truck still isn't full. Takes a lot to fill that truck up, so bring your old stuff. That is right next to Palo Verde High School, a little map there.
Is that the
Very little map
Opportunity
there.
Village shredder or a different shredder?
It is not anymore.
Okay.
They took that, they sent that division away, I guess, my understanding.
Oh,
So.
that's too bad.
But still, we shred. Still, we shred.
Good.
The business kiosk at Sahara West Library is going to remain at that location through the end of the year. So if you have any routine business licensing business to do, it may be more convenient for folks who live out that way to use this kiosk rather than come down to City Hall or the Development Services Center.
Right.
So on this day in music history, you ready? 95 years ago today. 95 years ago
Al
today.
Jolson.
Don Hill
Oh.
of the Tremolos and a long-time Las Vegas musician was born. He is 95 years old today. We are going to be presenting him with a proclamation tomorrow to make it Don Hill Day in Las Vegas. I would invite Councilman Coffin to the Italian American Club because that is where he will be recognized. He started out in Las Vegas in 1947, where he played at a little club called the Trade Winds. Later became the Sands, located on Highway 91.
Wow.
Now, we know that as the Strip. In 1944, he toured with Louis Armstrong. This guy's got just amazing resume. Through the 80s and 90s, he was the best lounge act almost every time anybody took a poll. His resume includes multiple appearances on Broadway, performances in Carnegie Hall 3 times, played all-black theaters, played all-white venues where he was escorted off stage, major television variety shows, but did a bunch of movies, 55 years with the Treniers, I guess.
Treniers. Treniers, that's right.
Treniers.
He's too
I've
young.
been on stage with Frank Sinatra, Elvis Presley, Liza Minnelli, Bill Haley, when he was still Cowboy Bill Haley, Johnny Carson, Michael Douglas, Jane Mansfield, many, 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 many more.
Wow,
Great
happy
day
birthday.
in Las Vegas music history.
Absolutely, and happy birthday. 97?
95.
95.
95.
Unbelievable.
And if we're lucky, you might grab that sax tomorrow night. So, yeah, it's pretty cool to watch him play.
Excellent.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Councilman, thank you. Councilman Anthony.
Thank you, Mayor. If we get that flyer up there, there you go.
There it went.
I want to invite you to the partnership between the City of Las Vegas Ward 4 and the YMCA located at the Durango Hills Y for the holiday hold down party, a custom Western themed dance. You can bring your hat and boots and we'll do some, well, I don't know if we are, other people may, but we'll see how that goes. Some square dancing and some line dancing and some light snacks, and so there you go. It's November 11th, 6 to 8. It's going to be a holiday hoedown, Christmas and cowboy stuff. So come on down, you'll have a lot of fun. That's all I have.
No pickleball contest yet? You know, we're still waiting with the pickleballs. Okay, Councilwoman.
We have a lag here in activities before we start our numerous Christmas and Thanksgiving dinners. So I thought today I could just use this time to comment on a couple of things that have been brought to our attention. We all know what it is to call 311 and to call 911, but many people that are among our constituents don't understand or realize we have a 211. And on that 211, residents can find information, referrals to health, human and social service operations. Through 211, you can find assistance if you need services such as childcare, education, emergency food and shelter, utility assistance, transportation, mental health services and counseling, services for people with disabilities, senior services, volunteer opportunities, a variety of similar other helpful services. And if you need this assistance, it's free and it's confidential. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I know that we often get calls in our office for things like that where they had the problem for maybe a week or so and it's really getting desperate. If they know early on, they can call that number, just the 211. Other ways of contacting them are you can text 898-211, or you can search online at www.nevada211.org. The other thing I wanted to mention that many people aren't aware of is a group called CHIPS, and I was introduced to it when I went and visited an open house at one of our fire stations in October. CHIPS is it's an acronym for Community Health Improvement Program. It's a 501c3 nonprofit agency that provides resources, referral, and navigation to existing health and social services. You notice I'm hitting on this now because there's so many times during the holidays people need help. So if you can, you go to the 211 or you can go to CHIPS. The fire departments, when they make their trips out to help people and put out fires, oftentimes there's individuals who need help in something else, and of course the firemen aren't specialists in that area. So that's what they do, is they refer to the CHIPS group. Social and health services can be complicated and challenging and sometimes overwhelming. So when they're your need and you don't know where else to go, you might want to call the 211 or go to the CHIPS and find them. And they'll help you with health care costs by improving the efficiency of our own emergency response service that we have through our fire stations. So I just thought that might be good if we have anybody watching us to remember the 211 and to remember CHIPS, so that you can get a referral to those same services through the CHIPS through a fire department. That's
Excellent, excellent, very helpful. Thank you. Councilman Barlow.
Yes, ma'am. We'll go to the
Multitasking.
Thank you. We'll go to the overhead. Just so that we can continue to keep the residents updated in regards to the Project Neon, as a lot of us who travel the corridor of I-15 as well as US 95 are aware that the Martin Luther King ramps, on-ramps, and off-ramps are closed. They're taking the bridge down, and so I want to make sure that we continue to update the community on all of these road closures, specifically as we commute through the Spaghetti Bowl. And so for that, the Martin Luther King Boulevard ramp at US 95 northbound is closed closed as of October 26th and will remain closed for approximately 90 days. The work is scheduled to change based on weather, of course, so please continue to follow my site as well as the NDOT Project Neon site as well for the latest information on the various highway and roadway closures. On November 3rd, tomorrow, Coffee with the Councilman. Please join me for a cup of coffee. It's always an opportunity to share in open government as we talk about and discuss various topics and interests that has taken place in and around the city of Las Vegas as well as within the boundaries of Ward 5. So please come out to Starbucks located at 1925 North Martin Luther King Boulevard, right at the corner of Lake Mead. And of course also the Ward 5 Fishing Derby is taking place tomorrow for seniors 55 and over. And so if you are a resident living anywhere within Clark or the city of Las Vegas, you are invited to come out and enjoy a day of fishing. 55 and older are invited to participate. We'll be giving out prizes and awards to those that catch the smallest fish to the biggest fish, and we're going to have a great time. And also we'll close up with a fish fry starting at approximately 12 noon. And so please come on out and celebrate tomorrow at Lorenzi Park starting at 10 a.m. in the morning. I would like to thank the Nevada Fish and Wildlife for their assistance with this project, and we're looking forward to having a lot of fun. So 55 and over, come out. On November 8th through the 10th, Veterans Week will be taking place at the Durfeld Senior Center located at 3343 West Washington. They will host Veterans Week to pay homage to the veterans who proudly have served our country. They will be offering haircuts, crafts, and host a luncheon also for all those who come out as well. So please bring any socks or donate anything that you would like to the veterans that will help support this effort. On November 17th, Seniors Got Talent will be taking place at the West Las Vegas Library Theater, and it will showcase seniors' great talent through music, poetry, and dance. So if you would like more information, please contact the Doolittle Senior Center, Cassandra Lewis at 229-6125. And of course, you may continue to follow me on all of my social media platforms, Twitter at Ricky Barlow, and as well as Facebook, Facebook.Ricky Barlow. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilman Coffin.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have a program to talk about here today. I think I'm more along the lines. I want to just say I don't often stick around for remarks after the meeting, but I do today, partially prompted by Anthony's statement in public comment coming up and talking about his new residence downtown, how he still lives downtown, as I and my family do. And he used to live, I think, on South 3rd or 4th, and now he's living on South 14th. That's a turbulent area. The 14th and 15th near Fremont is a challenge for all of us, and yet we need good people to live downtown. It's not their patriotic duty. It may be their necessity because the rents are better. But the point is that hundreds of thousands of us do live downtown and or east of the railroad tracks. And I have lived all my adult life there. And we don't have gated communities. We don't have homeowners associations except in a few high rises. We have neighborhood associations where we can do things and try to do our best. But we're having a hard time, and I know the rest of the council supports us over there. But we do have problems, just as Wards 1 and 5 do, with vagrants overrunning our parks and posing as homeless people, and in generally making life tough for all of us. And so we live downtown, Mary and I do, 162 feet away from the Las Vegas Boulevard property owners. That's where we live, right in the mix. And we encourage others to move downtown, and that's why we have done our very best to encourage others, such as we did in a zoning request today, allowing a previous duplex to be converted to R3 so that more families could move downtown. The point is, eyes and ears on the street. Keep it safe. And less and less professional and commercial use is desirable, if only to protect those folks who have their professional offices and their commercial buildings. That way, 24 hours a day, there is somebody watching the neighborhood, somebody to call Metro, somebody to call you and I on zoning issues. So Anthony is to be congratulated for living downtown, and I want to thank all those who do continue to kind of live in our outpost. It isn't as bad as Fort Apache. It isn't bad at all. I love it, and will continue to do so till the day I die. But it's important to understand that it's a different way of life there. Now then, I'm also reminded today of the fact that Tom Trinistich passed away last month. Tom lived all his life downtown. Tom was 69 years old. Tom went to, I think, St. Joseph's Grammar School 4 or 5 years behind me, as well as Bishop Gorman. The Trinistich family lived here for a long time. Tom lived near either 3rd and Gas or 4th and Gas, probably 3rd and Gas. Tom always kept an eye on things for all of us. Our staff will recall getting lots of calls from Tom about how things were. Tom never abandoned it downtown. He believed it his home, and for 69 years it was. And so for that, I really feel we need to remember and honor those people who love our town in a much different way, a different town than most people think of Las Vegas. This downtown Disneyland with all its noise and lights and odd behavior, it's all part of the game, and we do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Will. Thank you very much. And Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that.
Oh, what a pretty picture.
You mean that picture? Remember that day, Mayor? That was just the other day. We were at the groundbreaking for the Post-Acute Medical Rehabilitation Hospital in Centennial Hills, one of several fabulous projects headed out to the Northwest. So thank you very much for taking the long drive out to the Northwest.
It's fun.
But isn't it great? And good to see things happening again and throughout the city of Las Vegas. So also, thanks to Councilman Anthony, I think we put a damper on identity theft. We all seem to have a shredding event in our respective wards on a continuous basis, and I think that's important that our constituency understand the importance of that. If you have important documents that needed shredded, we do these shredding events throughout the city of Las Vegas in all 6 wards. Mine is November 12th at 10 a.m. at the Centennial Hills Community Center on the back parking lot. So we've done it so many times, people know exactly where that is located. So if you got anything that needs shredded, that's sensitive documentation, bring it down there and let's get it taken care of. And if you miss mine or miss Councilman Beers's, we'll find another one for you to get that taken care
The
of.
boxes must be bigger for you because he allows 5 boxes. You only allow 3 boxes.
Well, interestingly, in Ward 6, there's a line that lines up down the street. Sometimes they have to have the marshals come out and direct traffic, but that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Also going on out in Centennial, it is the holiday season, and it was so nice of Councilwoman to make her presentation on getting people help that they need when they need it. We too are trying to do the same thing out in Centennial Hills at the Active Adult Center. We're having a family food drive going on right now to the 17th. You can drop off your non-perishable canned, boxed, or bagged items, and then join us Friday, November 18th from 5 to 8 at the Centennial Hills Active Adult Center, and YFC members assemble food baskets to help families in our community. It's a great opportunity to serve, a great opportunity to volunteer. Any scouts, any Girl Scouts, anybody that needs some service hours, it's a great opportunity to do that, so bring your family on down. And it's that time of season again, and Councilman Anthony talked about his hoedown at the Durango's YMCA. Well, we too have something going on out in Centennial during the holidays, and it's called Cowboy Christmas and Classic Car Show. Of course, Saturday, December 3rd at Floydland Park at Thule Springs. It is a free event. It's open from 10 to 2. Bring your family. We will have a car show. We'll have hay rides. The petting zoo's going on, the jump house. We have local entertainment. These are our children from our various elementary schools, junior high schools, and high schools will be performing up on the stage. Mayor, you were out there with me last year, and I think and the year before that, it was
from your high school.
It's a wonderful, wonderful way to get the season started right. So
I see there's no pet show.
well, we tried the pet show last year, and we had little participation. And I know that was...
didn't market it, and the prizes stunk.
Maybe it needs your leadership, I think, Mayor. But again, a free event, come on down. There will be a farmer's market and lots of great things going on and some vendors to buy stuff. If you need information on being a vendor, contact my office. And we'll show you that at the end of this presentation on how to contact me. In our continuing efforts and our partnership with Nevada Child Seekers, Mayor and council members, we do have a missing young lady. Her name is Alexis Presno. Lexi is 15 years old. She's 5'8", 130 pounds. She is Asian Hispanic. Last seen around October 21st. She does wear glasses. And she was last seen in the area of Delray Avenue and West Charleston Boulevard. She was last seen wearing a long-sleeve cream-colored shirt, V-neck shirt, and black pants. She may be carrying a backpack with personal belongings. If anyone knows the location of this young lady, please help us get her to where she needs to be. Contact the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department at 702-828-3111 or Nevada Child Seekers at 702-458-7009. We've been very successful in locating missing children, and we will continue our efforts with doing that. So if you do need to get a hold of me and want to be a vendor in the upcoming Cowboy Christmas, you can contact me, certainly at www.lasvegasnevada.gov/ward6. My email address, councilman-lasvegasnevada.gov. You can use the old-fashioned way, 702-229-6154, or you can also find me on social media. And Mayor and council members, I look forward to our next upcoming meeting, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you, and thank you for all your help. The most important thing is Tuesday is get out and vote. Please don't forget to vote. This is a critical time, and we really need to voice our own opinions and get out there. You got a lot of selections, especially statewide, citywide, to say nothing of nationally. Please join us in honoring and thanking our nation's veterans as we celebrate Veterans Day next Friday, the 11th of November. Las Vegas Veterans Day Parade, the largest west of the Mississippi, provides a splendid opportunity to demonstrate our patriotism and pay respects to those who so honorably defended our freedom and way of life. The festivities begin at 10 a.m. downtown on 4th Street. Bring your family and friends and join in this wonderful tribute. And on behalf of the citizens of Las Vegas, thank you to all of our veterans and those currently continuing to serve, and to the families of our veterans. Our next City Council meeting will be held on Wednesday, November 16th. It is going to be a long one, I have been told. And that means bring your dinner and your sleeping bags and pillows. We are here for a good long one, but I'm sure everything's coming, and we're back in the roles of people wanting to invest and come downtown. So hopefully from licensing and everything else, we'll have a lot more of longer meetings. This is not a record, but it's 20 minutes of one, and we are adjourning City Council. Thank you, clerk staff. Thank you, all staff. Thank you, IT. Thank you, everybody in the back, everybody in the front, everybody out there in La La Land. Thank you. Good.